You got a cameraman?
Thanks so much. We got to keep moving.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Foreplay brought to you by Barstool Sports. Presented as always by Chevy. I want to get into Chevy, but first I have to set up the show because it's a massive one. We're doing a knee-jerk reaction podcast right after the President's Cup. We only do these 5 times a year, major championships, and then Ryder Cup or President's Cup, so we got a lot to get to. This one's special for a lot of reasons because we're going to go through, talking point after talking point, player after player, moment, all kinds of stuff. But we also have, for the first time, presidential interactions to go through, including our very own Trent Ryan, who is now a TikTok star after falling in love with TikTok. He's a TikTok star. So we have much to get to. I hope everyone is well. We're doing it via Zoom because we're all over the country, kind of back to our normal. I'm in Connecticut. Dan Rapport's in Colorado. Frankie and Trent, I believe, are on Long Island. So we're kind of all over the place. But I'm looking at Brandel with his hair and everything, talking about, the whole President's Cup. So we got a lot to get to. How are we, boys? Everybody feeling good? Happy to be talking?
Yeah, it's nice to see you guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person. I'm feeling a little withdrawal. I feel like we've spent a lot of time together recently.
I don't miss you I don't miss you guys that much, but I am feeling good. I enjoyed watching from my couch today. It was football Sunday. It was also fun to be able to just go back and forth a lot. It was just, I don't know if there's a better month than October. I'm counting this really as October, the end of September and October. You've got football, hockey, preseason was on today. We had the fucking President's Cup on today. The Yankees are on tonight. Game of Thrones is on. Like everything about Sundays and the weekends in the fall is just, And the President's Cup today delivered amazing putts, fist pumps. Crowd was going fucking bananas. But yeah, we had a hell of a week. So it's been nice to just be home and just kind of recap it all. You guys almost did lose me today, by the way.
Why is that?
How so?
Well, I almost lost my life, and I'm just stronger than other people that have gotten hit in the head. But I want to show you. Are you guys like prepared for what's going to be under this hat? I mean, it's pretty gory, honestly.
Did you get hit in the head with a golf ball, or
it's honestly pretty gory. I don't know if you can see that. Is that showing up?
What happened
my
to
God,
you?
the horror!
Oh my
the
God!
horror.
I feel like I'm on gore.com.
Hold on,
I'm gonna throw up.
I don't know. If
R-rated?
hold on. Let me turn this off.
No, we can see it. We can definitely see it.
Turn the contrast up. Turn the shadows up.
See that?
Yes.
So we have this little bar area set up, and Hannah and I are trying to get to the back of it because we're trying to put a cable box back there. And getting it back on the fucking rack was a nightmare. She's too short. She couldn't get over the fucking counter. I'm over there. So now at one point we're about to get it up, and I slam my head like backwards, like I jerk my head behind the TV. I go, "Are you on yet?" And as I do that, I catch the corner of the fucking cabinet. And
how'd you take it on a scale of 1 to Bryson DeChambeau?
So
I already know that answer. I already know how that went down.
I cried a little bit. Tears came out. And she laughed. The TV fell because she's laughing so hard at me. And I'm like, stop fucking laughing at me. And I walk and I stumble. I actually thought I had a concussion. I stumbled. Like, I actually walked away. I took 3 steps and I went, oh God. And I fucking caught myself. And she's like, "You're bleeding." I'm like, "Oh my God." I was like, "I don't even know what happened to me." I told her I was seeing stars. I was seeing stars, but I got right up. I didn't blame the cabinet. I didn't get mad at my partner, my caddy, the person that was with me. So Bryson can learn a thing or two here. I took full blame on my own. I could have avoided the corner of that cabinet. Had I just had the slightest bit of awareness of where that cabinet was, there's no chance I'd be bleeding all over my bar. So I take full responsibility for completely severing and slicing my head open to the point where I probably need stitches. And yeah, this is just how you take a gruesome head injury. So Bryson DeChambeau, you can learn a thing or two from this.
You also deserve credit as a showman because I'm stunned. This is the first we're hearing about it. I can't believe you didn't tweet about it or do a Twitter live, go on Instagram live and show people that gruesome gaping head injury that you have. It's a testament to your commitment to this podcast that you saved it for the show because, buddy, you deserve a hospital visit looking at that wound.
You can't even go out in public with that. You're gonna.
How many beers, boys? How many beers? Look at this.
You look like you did 15 rounds against Apollo Creed.
Yeah. Wow.
I got through it though. Guys, battle.
Proud of you. All right, Chevy. I have a Chevy. I rented a Chevy, so I'm rental car for the week. I got a Chevy Malibu. Actually, it's kind of fire.
Those are nice.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Chevy EVs.
How's the infotainment? How's the infotainment situation?
Phenomenal. I don't know that this is we're in rental cars all the time, and you never know what you're going to get in terms of the car play and the whole deal and what you can sync up to and what you can't. My phone's old enough that like I can't, when I plug it in with a normal iPhone cord, it doesn't stay. So if I try to hook that up to the CarPlay thing, it's in and out, and it's a disaster trying to get maps because I always need directions. This Chevy Malibu has Bluetooth and through and through. A lot of times you only get Bluetooth for audio. You can only Bluetooth a podcast or music or something. This is Bluetooth through and through.
Apple
so I get within
CarPlay.
a fucking 10 or 20 feet of this fucking car, and I'm just Bluetoothed into it. I was listening to President's Cup earlier in the day. I had to drive up to Connecticut. I got the maps on there. I got all kinds of podcasts that I want. And the Malibu, it's just sexy looking. We're going to talk about the EVs. So a lot of people might think that EVs are only for rich people. No. From Bolt to the Blazer, Equinox to the Silverado, Chevy EVs are for everyone, everywhere. A few of the Chevys, beloved and best-selling, have been designed as electric vehicle models powered by Ultium for an all-electric future. Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV are powered by Ultium. I got to talk about these, the Blazer EVs. This Blazer EV is going to be in my ownership, I think.
I want a Blazer bad.
By next year, I will own a Blazer EV. These
So
things
you've
are
made a decision. Blazer
fire.
it is.
I think so. I mean, look, it's only been a week. I was on Google Images, I think, just looking at Blazer EVs while we were following like Max Homa inside the ropes. And it's not like I'm committing to the next 10 years or what I'm going to drive around. But as of right now, I think I'm in on the Blazer EV. The Blazer is a sexy-ass car. It's also got a lot of history. I was looking at some of the old-school Blazers that people soup up a little bit. They got kind of like the really cool old-school cult kind of following for the Blazers. So the Blazers just got some mojo, I would say. And I love the Chevy logo.
I completely agree. I mean, the infotainment system inside is the thing that hooked me. I was looking through their website, and all of a sudden it just popped at me. I said, what the hell is this thing? And it was the Blazer. It's a beautiful looking SUV. It's fully, electric. The EVs are the way of the future. I definitely want to get one. I've been talking about electric vehicles for a long time on this podcast. I think that the way that the world is going, we're going to need these things. And Chevy is at the forefront of just like changing the world. They've always been at the forefront of changing the world. We talked about the facts last week. They've been doing the damn thing since 1911. 1911.
SUVs they came out with in the early 1930s, which is a stunning fact. Almost.
Guess how much the first Chevrolet car sold for?
$128.
I'm gonna guess.
That's a good guess.
$74.
I'm gonna guess $165.
$2,150.
Wow,
I mean, you guys are acting like this wasn't like the most ridiculous piece of technology that ever came out.
Well,
before.
it's
it was
funny
a
that you
car
say
in
that.
1911. Like it was all the money people had. Right?
I also forgot. I forgot that like eventually they got it to the point where it was affordable for people. But you're right. It's like the
like early cell
in like
phones. Yeah,
1970 that was like,
It's like
10.
a backpack.
Yeah, it was like $10 million, and in reality, now they can just do that for a little chip in your phone. But anyways, EV, Chevy, they're great. We love Chevy. Established full-line brand like Chevrolet. They can also offer multiple EV vehicles, the volume, variety, and the value customers all over the world have come to expect. EVs for everyone, everywhere. President's Cup 2022. United States wins 17.5 to 12.5, I believe, is the final. The closing ceremony is coming up, so we might get some beer chugs or some wild shit that we can react to in real time. We're going to get to the President's Cup. We got to start with the real news of the week, which is that we, as the three of us, myself, Frankie, and Trent, all encountered President George W. Bush. It was him and Clinton came on Friday morning. They have notoriously come to this event. I was on Google Images or Getty Images trying to find all kinds of photos from this whole thing. And you figure these guys have done this a lot. They came with Obama one year, and this is kind of their thing. They come to the President's Cup. By far the highlight of the entire thing was Trent Ryan. Just could not get a handshake from President George W. Bush. Trent, at this point, how are you feeling about your encounter that is with, one of maybe top 10 or 15 kind of most gravitas names that you could have a potential handshake encounter with?
I feel good about it now because it did so well on social media.
It's all for the content.
It is, because Frankie can attest to this. Right after it happened, I was like, I just encountered and had one of the most embarrassing experiences of my entire life. And we can walk through the whole thing if you want. I know Riggs encountered George W. Bush first, and Frankie got video of that, but Riggs kind of snuck his way on there and encountered him first. And then it was Frankie and I. But Riggs, do you want to talk a little bit about your encounter first, and we can kind of go at it chronologically?
Yeah, that's a good idea. The whole thing, Trent, was pretty fucking wild because the new setup this year for the President's Cup that they never had before is obviously the horseshoe around the first tee, but they did what the Nashville Predators do, which we went to a Preds game this year after a Barstool Classic, and the Predators rink arena is built with this like amazing hospitality area built around where the team walks from the locker room onto the ice. So when they go out, for warm-ups, for the first period, for the national anthems, and in between every period, you can literally have a beer and then stand right next to the whole team as they go out and go onto the ice. And the President's Cup did the same thing. So they had this little tunnel that was underneath the stadium, but also around it was this like hospitality and PGA Tour and kind of area. Well, we, with our media credentials, kind of on Thursday, I just ended up there. You guys were in the pen, as they called it, the little pig pen.
Well, this is an incredible interaction we had. We're trying to get into the horseshoe area. Riggs is in there. We don't have full inside the ropes passes, but we have media passes that allow us to go to the players' areas, the practice areas. We have all these letters on our chest, so we really don't know where we're allowed to go. We think at some point, because Riggs is in there, Hannah Cook was in there, that we could just walk right in. So we go to walk in, and some guy just stops us as a police officer, and there's a guy from like maybe PGA Tour security, or it seemed as though he was like part of like the media security or media team. And he looks at me and he goes, just hold off for a second. If you're not on the list, you're not getting... Oh, no, I'm sorry. He didn't even give us the respect to do that. He actually looked at the guy who stopped us and said, yeah, if they're not on the list, they're not getting in. Like, it was one of those where, like, he knew we were standing right in front of him, but he's not making eye contact with us, and he's having a conversation about us while we're standing there. And he goes, honestly, I think they have them in, like, a pen or something on the other side of the first tee. So we're like...
That's true.
It's like, what the fuck is this? At that point, I'm like, I think we have to, like, fight this guy. I mean, I don't know what the correct response to that is aside from punching him in the mouth. Like... For him to be like, I think you guys are stuffed in some pen on the side, so why don't you go check it out over there, and then make sure you take a shower before you come back. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. So yeah, we went over to the pen while you went in.
He basically told you to come back with a text. He basically was like, take a lap.
It was bad. It was
So
really
bad.
bad. So I said, Trent, we just got to go to the pen real quick. Oh, sorry, man. I apologize. Sorry. Sorry to even be in your presence.
You guys were in the media pen, which is where they just pile all the normal media folk, and you were like looking at the first tee from kind of in front of it. I had originally gone to the to the fan entrance to the thing, because it's like you're entering a stadium. And the guys that were running that were like, hey, Riggs, we're fans, but like the only way to get up into the fan area is you have to just wait in this line with the fans. And I was like, I'm not waiting in this line. Like, what are you talking about? So they eventually like, this is the only way. And I was like, I'm going to get something else out. So I go over by the putting green. The putting green has like a line through the crowd that goes into this tunnel. And I just ended up kind of meandering my way over, inching closer. And finally, a policeman, and the Charlotte police are giant Barstool fans, turns out, gave me the old like, hey, we're big fans. How's it going this week? I'm like, great. And I'm chit-chatting it up. And I was like, I'm going to head into that tunnel. Is that cool, right? And he's like, you can go wherever you want. I was like, all right, unreal. So then I just walk into the tunnel. And once I got into the tunnel, there was no one around, and we were probably 30 minutes away from the tee times on Thursday. And so I kind of went off to the side. I'm in that little hospitality area, and I'm like, what about that? Like, there's literally one final 40-foot stretch of the tunnel that is just where the players walk through, and once they walk through, they are just on television about to hit a golf shot in the President's Cup. And so after one group goes through and Emmelman gives his speech, Davis Love III gives his speech, everyone's coming and going in this tunnel. And I'm like, I think I could just go into that tunnel. So I walk out, go into the tunnel. I run into Dewey. And now it's just me and Dewey standing at the end of the tunnel. And everybody comes through. JT comes through. He gives me a little head nod. I don't even know if this is on TV or not, but I'm looking at you guys in the pen. And I'm like, this is way better than the fucking pen. So I just stood there for the whole day. It was great. No concern. So Friday, I went and ran that whole thing back. Well, as you guys saw, I didn't even see this. Apparently, when I made that same maneuver from the putting green through the tunnel, William Clinton is right behind me. Like, like kicking my heels trying to get through the goddamn tunnel. And
It was
I
crazy,
had
dude.
no-
Well, I want to say from the side angle, we had heard rumblings that there were presidents on property. When we were driving into the golf course, we saw like the motor brigade. Is that what we're calling it?
Motorcade.
Fuck.
Motor
I knew it wasn't a
brigade.
I have a concussion.
How does
I
he
don't
come
know
up
if
with
you guys.
infotainment? But he
It's
says
actually
Motor
pretty
Brigade.
amazing that you're even here. The fact that you're doing this podcast is really impressive.
I want
If
you
I
guys
got
to
a head
Brigade.
injury, a brain contusion.
Fuck you, Trent. Fuck you. So the motor brigade was going in, and we heard some rumblings that there were presidents there. We didn't know who it was. So then we're on that side looking in, and Trent goes, "Oh, there's Riggs Barstool," as Riggs just floats on by through the player's entrance. And then 2 seconds later, he goes, "Oh, there's Bill Clinton." I go, "What the fuck?" And then Bill Clinton just stared at us, smiled, and did the presidential thing, and he kind of floated on by. And we were like, "What the fuck is going on right now?" You led the presidents into the President's Cup.
Which I didn't know. I legitimately didn't know. There were whispers, and so I going through the whole thing, stand in the tunnel, and I look behind me and just kind of like trying to gather because I'm in this big crowd of people, and I just see the fucking president. I see William Jefferson Clinton, 42, is just right next to me, and for some pretty serious motherfuckers. And I'm just kind of, I just hold, I guess. I hold the line. I just kind of stand off to the side, but I'm in the tunnel, and the procession kind of makes its way through, and then they go out of the tunnel to the right, and this is where they're posted up for the next hour. Is Clinton, George W. Bush 43. They're just in this corner with Commissioner Monahan's there, Freddie Couples is there. Everyone's just in this fucking corner, and we're in the tunnel, and we're very close to the corner. Then you guys come up behind me. You finally make your way out of the pin into the tunnel. And right about that time, I had sort of made my way to the front of the tunnel, and I was assessing the situation. And it was like after groups teed off, it was pretty chill, and that's when people were interacting with the crowd. There wasn't as much focus on the tunnel. So after one of the groups teed off, I looked at you guys. I said, "I'm going for it," and I just walked out of the tunnel, made a right. And then I was just in the mix. I was within 5 feet of George W. Bush and Clinton. They're taking pictures with everybody. And I just stood there. I didn't really talk to anybody. A couple of the sign guys. This is like where the sign people, the guys that come up with the one-up sign and all that, they come out and they stand in this little area too, which is great because all the players interact with the sign people. They come out, they take their hat off, they introduce themselves to the sign people. And so now I'm just kind of with the sign people. And it's like, that's fine. And then after about 15 or 20 minutes of this, it was in between groups again, and President Bush is right in front of me, facing me, probably within 5 feet of me, but he's like scanning the crowd above me, and he's just interacting with the crowd. And yes, he is as good at working a crowd and working this little corner with the sign people and everybody as you could possibly imagine. All the rumors are true. He was just riffing. He was making people laugh. He was phenomenal. And so now he's getting into it with the crowd, and the crowd's like, "W, sign my hat." And he'd be like, "No." And then everybody would laugh and they would all go crazy. And then they'd be like, "Let's go Rangers." And he'd be like, "That's right, baby." And he'd do like a little baseball swing. Everybody would go crazy. And he's doing that, like scanning the crowd. And then eventually stops scanning the crowd. He kind of just looks right at me. And so I wasn't prepared because, I was just kind of like standing on the side for this moment. He's looking right at me. So I just was like, put my hand out and was like, "Mr. President, Sam Bazoyan, nice to meet you." He shakes my hand. He's like, "Where are you from, Sam?" And we just chatted for a few seconds. And I'm a little rattled because obviously the picture, I didn't take my hat off. Frankie took his hat off. It happened so quickly. I didn't have time to do the
No, a
whole
lot of
thing.
people were talking about that, but I wasn't going to bring it up.
Oh, I knew it because I was prepared. I was like, but I never had like a direct, this is when I'm going to meet him moment. It just sort of like fucking happened. And it happened. And then we were just chatting for like 30 seconds and we were shooting the shit. And then the people behind me were chiming in about the conversation because the people behind me were stoolies and foreplay fans. So now I'm like he's kind of looking at them, quipping. And it was just like a group conversation. And then for the next 10 minutes in that corner, I had already met him and introduced him. So it was like we were just I was part of whatever he needed, to the point where people were like, "Well, Mr. President, do you mind if I take a selfie?" Like leaning out from the little hospitality area, and I just grabbed the phone and was like, let me just take it. And then President Bush goes, yeah, he's my professional. He'll take it. And everybody's like laughing. And I'm just taking pictures of like President Bush. And I'm just part of the corner. It was like the corner was just, you were like in his circle and the corner was just hop. And that was my whole scene.
I'm curious about the introduction. Were you always going to go with Sam or because I've heard you introduce yourself to a lot of people and it's always Riggs. So where is that line? Is it only with presidents of the United States?
No, it's if people know that I'm Riggs, I'm not going to be like, Sam, hey, hi, I'm Sam Bazzoian, because then it leads to like where's Riggs? And it's like a whole fucking thing. And they're never going to call me Sam anyways. They're going to call me Riggs because they know me as Riggs. But like, I'm not going to introduce myself to the President of the United States under what my internet name was on BarstoolSports.com.
Well, what did he say? Did you tell him? I assume that Barstool came up in some capacity. Did he have any sort of awareness of what we are?
So Frankie and Trent, do you remember he used to comment on Barstool Instagram posts? He had commented a few times, and I know it probably wasn't him.
Probably not him, yeah.
His official account had commented on a couple things that were very like George W. Bush type personality and comments. So I thought there's a chance that like maybe. So I said, Mr. President, Sam Bazzoian, really nice to meet you. I'm with Barstool Sports. And he just goes, all right, Sam.
Shit. Oh, shit.
Just like not a single click went off. He just, all right, Sam, where are you from? And then we just kind of were talking.
I kind of like that better, that he was so nice to you despite like thinking that you were a total nobody or at least not knowing who you were. That just shows that he's like a genuine nice dude who was in a good mood.
He was phenomenal. I mean, he also had one of the sign guys was a firefighter, and his boy next to him goes, because he kind of Bush like met these guys. And then a couple seconds later, his buddy goes like, oh, Mr. President, this guy's a firefighter. And he looks right at him and he goes, you're a firefighter, are you? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, attaboy. And he gave him a fist bump. It was phenomenal.
I do want to say at this point in time, and because I bet people are thinking it should not be this easy to get that close to a president. Like, I get that we have media credentials. I get that, like, we were kind of supposed to be there, but not really. Like, of all the people in that area, we were probably like 45% supposed to be there. And I don't know what is Secret Service supposed to do? Vet every single person who is in that tiny little area by the tee box? Maybe. But I don't think it should be as easy as it was for Sam Bazzoian to meet the former president of the United States of America.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't believe it. It was one of those. I felt like I had fooled everyone. I felt like we had all fooled everyone. I was waiting for Monahan even to walk over and be like, "You better get the fuck out of here." Like, I didn't know. And then, like I said, it was like you just kind of. It was like if you just conversed with the people around you, then everyone looked at you like, "Oh yeah, that guy's supposed to be here for sure." And that went on until every group, teed off. And then I will say, in talking to him, because I did have a good probably. I don't know what it was, 15 to 30 seconds or something, where I was just chatting with him one-on-one. And it was the most nervous I've ever been, to the point where for the next 5 minutes afterwards, I noticed like my hands were just shaking. I was
right,
like,
you're a huge history guy. You love the history of the United States of America.
Huge history guy, huge elections guy, huge presidents guy. Like that's what I read. I read his biography. I'll never forget like the first time that I really remember like remembering shit as a person was like around 9/11, which I was probably, I guess around 9/11, I was 13, 14 years old. So you're still pretty damn young, but I was like my freshman year of high school. So I guess I was like 14. And so that was early on in Bush's presidency. So for the next like 7 years of my life, he was like my president as I went from 13 or 14 years old to like an adult. And so that's like in terms of getting into politics and understanding, government and the presidency and America's place in the world, he was like our guy. And so then him standing right there before me and just chatting with him, I was like, holy fuck. And I was as nervous as I've ever been in my entire life.
Understandably so. That's quite a person to meet.
A little bummed, like I didn't get the moment with Clinton, but like he just was not really as much in the orbit. He was kind of on the other side of that corner, and he wasn't as like spry, I would say, as George W. He was a little bit more frail than George W., but still the two of them were out there on their own. They were like, they didn't have necessarily like a helper holding on to him or like walking him around or telling him where to go. The two of them were literally for the full hour just out there in this corner on the grass, on the tee, on their own, chatting it up, taking picture after picture. I mean, they were still buzzing, to be honest with you. And so, so then from my vantage point, they tee off last. I actually heard President Bush say something to the effect to one of his people like, all right, we can get out of here now, right? Or something like that after like the last tee time. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because it was relentless, as you can imagine, and they did a great job. And then I kind of saw from the exact same view you guys kind of had me, exactly what was about to happen with Frankie and Trent. And I noticed very quickly, I was like, Frankie is in the position of like he's making a move. Trent is on the phone camera duty, because Jake and Alex Bush had gotten denied at the door. They're basically told to go to the pen. And then so now from your guys' vantage point, which leads to the Trent handshake and everything else, President Bush is in your guys' hands now.
So, yeah, we watch everything that you just described go down. The last group tees off, and then it's just a wave of people turning towards us, because Frankie and I are still in the tunnel that Riggs described before.
We also got in. We finally got in.
We got in. We went from the putting green. We talked to Joe Griner for a while, and then Frankie and I were like, we're just going to make a commitment to make this walk. And the thing that saved us, shout out to all the stoolies out there, as we were walking, people are kind of hooting and hollering, being like, oh, Trent and Frankie, woohoo, yeah, go you guys.
Right in front of security. I'm giving people fist bumps. So the guy just was like, yeah, like, have a good day. Like, he's not going to stop someone that everyone around is like cheering for.
Right. Alex Bush and Jake Bass, who came 2 minutes after us, got stopped and they got turned away. So Frankie and I
Jake Bass also wasn't wearing a shirt. Did anyone notice that Jake Bass wasn't wearing a shirt?
He was wearing that tailor-made sweater, and that was it, right?
It was chaos.
Yeah, he can be a liability out there when he gets something.
He was wearing a windbreaker, and nothing underneath, with the windbreaker zipped all the way down to like his nipple. I mean, there was so much chest.
He was wearing something that he thought was cool, which it is a cool thing, but he wasn't wearing it in a way that is going to be acceptable on a golf course. It's certainly not acceptable trying to walk into an area where there's two presidents. That was just never, ever going to happen. So the groups tee off, the wave turns towards us, and Frankie and I, while the groups are teeing off, Frankie and I have a conversation. He's like, will you take a video of me meeting these presidents or meeting one of them or whoever?
It was really supposed to be the handshake. I'm like, I want to shake George Bush's hand. Do you mind getting a video of it? So in my mind, I'm like, he's going to grab a quick video. We also had Dr. Brett McCabe, who was going to video the whole thing. So hopefully like he could get me, and then Trent's going to go get his handshake. Like, it was going to be a whole thing. So Trent was nice enough to start this like videography session. And we didn't think, like, we just watched him converse for like an hour. So maybe like he's going to be in there. He's going to be in the tunnel. He's going to be hanging out. But obviously what happens next is very fast.
I thought the plan was, I'm going to get a video of Frankie meeting a president, and then that's going to be it. The only person who didn't know about that plan was George W. Bush. So what he thinks is, I'm going to meet this guy, and then he's going to want to take a picture of me. So Frankie takes off the hat, shakes the hand of George W. Bush. And at that moment, I think it's over. I think the interaction is about to end. Not to mention that all the Secret Service people are saying, we got to keep it moving. We got to keep it moving. So I'm thinking, all right, their interaction is over. It is now my time to shake the hand of George W. Bush. And as you see on the video, I go for it. And George W. Bush still thinks that a picture is happening with Frankie Borelli, and he goes, why don't you snap that son of a gun?
Snap that son of a gun. Snap that son of a gun.
And as that's happening, you can see in the video, my hand once again enters the frame, because I think that the interaction between Frankie and George W. Bush has ended. But George W. Bush wants to take a picture with Frankie Borelli. He will not move towards me until he gets a picture with Frankie. So I then back up, I get them in the frame, and this is the part that I wanted to wait to talk about on the podcast because it's hard to describe on Twitter. People were really laughing at me stopping, holding the video static, and being like, all right, I got the picture. But what actually happened was, what you can do now with iPhones is, while you're taking a video, they give you the option to snap a bunch of pictures. So I was doing that. I had my wits enough about me, although at this point I am completely blacked out and my brain is melting out of my ears. But I am taking pictures of Frankie and George W. Bush during the video. So I got all those things at once. And then finally, as I take the picture, it's over. George W. Bush walks by me. I just finally, on the third attempt, get a handshake from him, and he goes by me. But it was chaos. The whole thing was just absolute chaos from my vantage point. That, thankfully or not thankfully, we all got because I kept the video going on my phone.
Wait, so you did get a handshake eventually after the video stopped?
You can you can see it at the very, very, very end of the video, Dan. I get a handshake from him.
Yeah, well, I was completely oblivious to all of this happening. I was like doing like, golf stuff. I was like inside the ropes watching
this is
golf.
what we do.
And
Dan,
then I
at
saw,
these
this is what I was
tournaments.
saying. And then I saw my phone blowing up with all of that. I was like, no matter what I do, no matter how good of a story I write, no matter what I report, nothing will come close to this one viral moment. I was like, you know what? Fair play. These guys are pros.
What, Dan?
They know what they do.
You bring up a point that I was talking with Trent about, and yes, it's one of the funniest things I've ever been a part of. You could actually see my face change. I go, once when Trent goes 0 for 2, I actually close my lips and go, oh no. Like I absolutely knew that this guy had just had a moment, and I just hoped that it was all captured.
CrossCountry Mortgage, baby. Frankie, do you know CrossCountry Mortgage at all?
I am just, I don't know if it's weird to be a fan of a mortgage company, but I am a diehard CrossCountry Mortgage fan. I mean, like, I spend money with them and I give money to them. They are my lender. CrossCountry Mortgage is how I have this house. I am in debt to them literally and figuratively. I love them.
They own your debt. That's fact.
Yeah, they own my debt. So, I mean, they're innovative. They're people helping people. They are always adding new technology, which I love. It's on your phone. There's video aspects. There's these robots that send you emails telling you what your house is worth, what your neighbors' houses are worth. It is an incredible, incredible piece of technology. And they are just the biggest thing, and I've talked about it all year long, is that they are there to help you. You can call them at 10 o'clock at night, and it's a real person answering their call. You can hear the sleep in their voice, being like, what's up, Frankie? What do you need? And I'm like, hey, man, I'm kind of freaking out. And he's like, all right, let me go down to the kitchen, pull out the fucking laptop, and I'll help you out. That's the kind of people they are. You're actually working with real people. So give them a try. I'm telling you, you're not going to regret it.
CrossCountry Mortgage is the best. You can access your equity to use for larger expenses, from debt consolidation to home renovation, stable monthly payments, and low to no down payments. Who doesn't love swag? You can get a free Barstool and CrossCountry Mortgage sweatshirt when you sign up to refi or get pre-approval while supplies last. Of course, see if you qualify today. Visit ccm.com/barstool now. That is ccm.com/barstool. CrossCountry Mortgage LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans subject to underwriting approval. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
I was talking to Trent about this at the end because, like, he was so embarrassed walking out of that first tee. Trent was so embarrassed. He's like, I don't know. He goes, I think you have to delete that video. He goes, I just went 0 for 2 shaking the president's hand. I'm like, Trent, this is the best thing that could have happened to us this week. I don't care how many golf brands end up coming into existence. I don't care whoever tries to do the same thing that we're doing. Something is different about the Barstool universe. Like, things just happen. We're not trying to be funny in that moment. We're just trying to get a picture with the President of the United States. It is fucking just as simple as it can be. And it turns into a mega viral, insane, embarrassing moment. Like, we're not trying to be clowns in that moment. We're not trying to, like, think of a funny thing. That's just something that happens to Barstool. Dave Portnoy, when he goes out there, he just tries to review pizza. He literally goes into a pizza place, says, I'm going to tell you guys if I like it or not. What happens to him in that moment is, like, homeless people come in, they're bleeding from their face, they're asking where the plastic machine is, 19 people pop out of cars. Like, a lot of people in the world can just go review pizza, but no one can bring that, like, drama to it. And for some reason, it's now moved into our world. This has happened to us how many times now since foreplay has been a thing, where it's just like things just fucking happen somehow. And this is like the perfect example. I just tried to shake that guy's hand and this turned into this.
And when I saw the video, I knew, like, it's all worth it. Like, if the rental car costs $3,000 and the flights it's all worth it. We got a video of Trent trying to shake the president's hand, and I was thinking earlier that morning when I was in the moment, I was like, oh my God. I was thinking, like, shaking a president's hand is a thing. It's like it's one of, I don't know, 5 things. Like, they have the 8 wonders of the world. There's one of, like, 5 things that a human could accomplish. That is, like, as cool of an experience as you can possibly have. You shake, and you don't say that with Tiger Woods. You don't say, the goal isn't to, like, I shook Tiger Woods' hand. You don't do, like, the take your hat off and shake a president of the United States. It's like, I shook a president's hand. is such a thing. And then there's a video of Trent just couldn't do it. He was like, he thinks he doesn't have it, thinks he doesn't have it. It's like, it was so fucking good. And the fact that he said, snap that son of a gun.
Why
Bro,
don't
I
you
got
snap
so
that?
many
Because, dude, the guys behind me, the guys behind us were like, all right, you guys got a photographer. He actually says, do you have a photographer? Is this your photographer guy?
Oh, that's
like,
right. He goes,
basically
yeah.
points at Trent and just he assigns him as the photographer.
Yeah,
and
he's like, this your cameraman?
This
I
your
was like,
cameraman? Yeah. Yep, that's the guy, I guess. And then the guys behind us are like, we gotta go. And George W. can't believe that Trent is still trying to shake his hand, where he's like, why don't you just snap that son of a gun real quick? Like, take the picture so we can move on here, boy. Come on, son. We're moving.
I've had so many people tweet at me and comment under my post, snap that son of a gun, and it makes me laugh every single time. My brother will just text me out of nowhere, just, why don't you snap that son of a gun? That's gonna be with me for the rest of my career, the rest of my life. It's right up there with where you station, snap that son of a gun.
Yep.
I don't know, man. When I meet famous people, my brain melts and I don't know what to do.
I think the actual, like, the way the video is shot contributes to it. Because if you had someone taking a video and you like hold your hand out and bring it back awkwardly, like, that's funny. But the fact that it's the first person video and you can see just a floating hand out there you could have gotten the best cinematographer in the world and they wouldn't have made it funnier than that.
Things just happen, man.
I was when we went back
The
to
floating
the
hand.
Oh God, we went right back to the media center afterwards, and I was mortified. But then as I kept watching it, I was like, this is actually pretty funny. And it really, when you look at it from that first person view, it looks like you're in a video game and you're pressing B to try and shake the president's hand.
Yes.
And it just keeps happening. And the president will not oblige. He just won't give me the hand. And it was, yeah. And like I said off the top, before we got all the way to it, like, I'm less mortified about it now because of how well it did. It got 930,000 views on Twitter, 1.5 million on TikTok. Like, the reality of the situation is that's a good amount of views, and I'm happy about it. In the moment, I was completely mortified, and I wanted to crawl under a rock and just die there.
So good. Just all-time moment, man.
All-time moment. It is. It's up there with where you station. It's something we'll break down forever. It's something that nothing will happen with President George W. Bush. Next time he goes viral for a moment with Michelle Obama or anything, it's going to fire up all the, like, snap that son of a gun comments again. And it's just too good. And it's you know, it's just the Barstool difference, the foreplay difference. You're right. We got Dan out there grinding over insightful articles that he's posting on barstoolsports.com that are bettering the golf world, and golf nuts are obsessed with it. And there's just no other golf brand that's going to compete with the fact that we can post those while also just taking over TikTok and the Barstool world with Trent and Frankie and George W. Bush. You just can't fucking beat it. So
Can't beat it.
amazing moment. And it was could you guys feel the difference of the weight of those presidents being around versus any other humans we've ever been around?
Oh my God. Bro, I don't care what your politics are, and it's sad that the world has gotten to a point where it's like you have to almost walk on eggshells when talking about if you've had an interaction with one of these guys. There's 46 of them of all time. I don't care which one you meet. I don't care which one you've had an interaction with. That is as high, as you said before, as high of an honor as a human being can get to. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to disagree with them. Just be a normal person and understand and acknowledge that person was elected by more than half of the fucking country to run the free world, be the leader of the free world. Your countrymen made this one human being. He's just a regular guy like us, and he just fucking ended up running the United States of America. That guy I'm going to shake that person's hand and think it's the coolest thing of all time. So yeah, you just see it. Everyone's looking at him. They've got this fucking swagger about them. They've got this aura, and it's different, man. It's 1 in a billion type stuff. It really is. They're just different people for a reason. That's why they're presidents.
Yeah, it's true. Those guys were voted by tens of millions of their peers to become the most powerful human being on planet Earth.
It's insane.
Multiple times, which is that's unbelievable. So yeah, it was very cool. Very, very cool. All right. President's Cup. I saw Kiz is going viral already. He's on a hot mic. telling everybody about where the party's going to be. And I think he, in the handshake line, they did like a NHL playoff series handshake line. And Kiz is caught on a hot mic at the beginning of it talking about the party and where to go and setting everything up. And then he shakes Siwoo's hand. And he just goes, Siwoo, and shakes him up and then goes, you're the ugliest motherfucker I've ever seen. Or something. What? And Siwoo just starts fucking laughing, like hits him on the shoulder. And they're just, Kiz is getting right into it. He's literally going fucking all over the place on Twitter right now. So I imagine they're going to have a great time. Then I know Immelman's going to chirp us for not being at the after party. We got Barstool Classic tomorrow morning in Connecticut. Final one of the whole year. Got to be there. Got to do it right for, obviously, our fans. Created by fans for fans. Game time. Game time, game time, game time. It's the new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, shows. They guarantee the lowest price. We were in attendance at the President's Cup. We speak a lot on this podcast about how sweet it was, about the things that happened, but also just witnessing the moments. I watched Max Homa on Friday run around the green for minutes after his final putt and just high-five people and hug people, talking to announcers, talking to fans, talking to everybody, being there and capturing, living in the moment, having those memories forever at big events, whether it's a show, a concert, a game. It's the best. We also speak on this show. I think Frankie brings up how great October is. We're on the precipice of October. Oh. You got football, you got baseball, playoffs, you got hockey and basketball coming back.
Concert season, like you want to go see a Christmas show coming up in November and December. You can go to Radio City Music Hall. You got the whole thing. We're going hard on Christmas. I know, Dan, that's something you have to get used to. Yep, we're just a Christmas podcast. That's just how we've always been.
I don't think that's legal. Tree. I don't think what you just did there is legal.
Oh, well, I am...
you like your holiday? Well, sorry, we're not celebrating anymore.
You can celebrate whatever you want. I'm saying I'm going to talk the shit about Christmas.
In my world now, Grandma.
Anyway, now I feel all hot and bothered. I want to say to you guys that Game Time is the app to do. I saw Tommy Smokes was actually in left field thanks to Game Time. He
took his glove like a loser.
No, you have to. The balls are $2 million.
No, dude.
The balls were $2 million. He went to go see Aaron Judge hit a home run to left field. Game Time got him there because he had a last-second decision. He's like, I need to be inside Yankee Stadium tonight. Aaron Judge is going to make history, and I want to be there. And the app that he trusted was Game Time? Come on, Trent.
I just didn't
Game
like the glove.
Time. Been using Game Time all year long. They're the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. That's us. That's our company. That's who we represent. So easy to use. Amazing deals. Download the Game Time app. Go to the account tab to create a login. Redeem code FORE, that is code 4, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Code 4, $20 off. Okay. President's Cup. I think that's pretty much all we needed to do on the George W. Bush situation. I'm sure it'll be talked about forever and ever and ever. United States wins by 5 points, 17.5 to 12.5. Predictably, they won. I would say that if you told people at the beginning it was 17.5 to 12.5 and that you had the moment that Tom Kim and Cam Davis had yesterday on the 18th green, which was Saturday afternoon, that would have been considered by all viewers on either side an enormous success for this President's Cup. This is the same team that doubled up Europe last year, which is by all accounts a significantly better team, and there's they got a lot better history, and they're not down 11-1 all time and all that. And now they come in and have really a much better, closer battle than they even did at the Ryder Cup last year on home soil without the international team having Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Mark Leishman, Louis Oosthuizen, a million different people. So all in all, I would say from a competition standpoint, about the best you could have asked for.
Yeah, I mean, they covered the spread. I think the spread was like 6.5 points. It was nervy today. It was nervous today. There were two separate points. One of them was like around 2:10. It was early, but there was a lot of yellow on the board, and 4 points was the lead going into today. And obviously, that's the same margin that the Europeans overcame in 2012 to win the Ryder Cup of Medina. So, that late flurry yesterday by Tom Kim and Cam Davis, it made it possible. And then today they got off to a really, really good start. And you started to think like, well, if this match goes this way and this match goes that way and they flip this match, it's possible. And then it happened again like 2 hours later, when Cam Young really after Siwoo closed out JT, and then Cameron Young and Hideki were tied going to 18, and you wondered if Hideki can pull this off. So they were in it. They kept it a lot closer than anyone imagined. And I think, all those guys gained so much from this week. Like a guy like Cam Davis or a guy like Sebastian Munoz, who pumped the world number one today, beat Scotty Scheffler, or Tom Kim, obviously. Like to go against this American team that is such a juggernaut on home soil, and to have them really nervous on Sunday afternoon, no one thought it would get to that point. So an unbelievable job by Trevor Immelman, kind of weathering the storm of a really, really chaotic captaincy, keeping everyone really positive and really optimistic. And they've built a culture. Like that felt like a team. And international teams in the past haven't always felt like a team. It's a challenge, right? You got guys from Asia, you got guys from Africa, you got guys from Australia. To have them come behind a completely made up flag or logo of the international team, it's tough to do, but these guys really bought in, and it was really compelling viewing. Like a lot of people wrote off the President's Cup, but I had a really good time watching it all week.
Yeah, I agree. I had a great time watching it. I'm seeing some people being like, what a surprisingly entertaining, President's Cup. And I find that a little ridiculous. I mean, it was going to be entertaining. I don't think without the flurry from yesterday afternoon, I don't know that we would be saying that, because it makes every match thereafter that much more intense. It made every singles match. It made those first 6 matches today, which I'm sure we'll talk about how disappointing it was that we didn't have Tom Kim and Max Homa in those first 4 or 6 matches today, because by the time that match on the back nine started to heat up, the whole thing was over. But it made every match intense. It made, from the start, it made it when it looked like there were some international flags on the board, it made you think like, holy fuck, there could be a moment here. And it was you started to get vibes of Poulter in 2012 on Saturday when him and Rory, mostly Poulter, came back and put a point on the board at the end that made everything go from 11-5, I guess it would have been at the time, to 10-6. And then Europe comes back at Medina the next day and wins the Ryder Cup on foreign soil, matching the biggest comeback of all time from 99 when the U.S. did it. So, like, that had the same kind of vibes. Like, holy fuck, they've got momentum now. Tom Kim, they had the locker room, like, moving afterwards. Everybody was going nuts. Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim going crazy on the 18th green. Like, that was such a cool scene, his fist bumps, that it made the entire thing worth it. And I think, too, like, the President's Cup gets shit on so much solely because of its obvious comparison to the Ryder Cup that you go into it, like, expecting to be disappointed. It feels like we go in expecting to be disappointed every single time. And then you hear these guys like Cam Davis, Billy Horschel, multiple people come out and say that was the most nervous I've ever been. Cam Davis said 5-6 holes it took him to get to a point where he wasn't like shaking nervous. You could see Connors today when he had a big putt on 17. He literally couldn't even put the ball in the fucking green.
He was downright uncomfortable. That was tough to watch. God. He was like fidgeting.
Oh, and that's like, how cool is that this tournament event, whatever, exhibition is so big to the people in it that like they're fucking shaking and they're so nervous. And these people play in Masters and Majors and they've played in Q School with their entire career on the line and all this shit. And they've won tournaments and here they are in something they don't really get paid for. That is, by all accounts, the opposite of what they do on a week-to-week basis. You would think that a human being would care more about when they have a putt for $1.5 million than they do when they have a putt for $0, but just so that their teammates and their captain are happy, that means a billion times more to them than that moment. You had Max Homa with his putt on Friday afternoon, where he said afterwards, like, no amount of money is worth
100
how I felt
better
after that putt.
He said it was 100 times better.
That's the President's Cup. That's not even the Ryder Cup. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think the phrase that keeps coming to mind is comparison is the thief of joy, right? Like if you compare this to the Ryder Cup, that's going to take a lot of sting out of it. But if you focus on what you do have and not what you don't have, you had 12 of the, let's say, 13 best American golfers in the world, right? DJ is probably the only live guy who most likely would have been on this team. And they care a lot. They buy into this. Like, there were generations in the past that viewed these team competitions as a burden or as a chore. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to go and have to do this thing at the end of the year and not get paid. But this core, and when I say this core, I mean like, JT, Spieth, Xander, Patrick Cantlay, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, the guys who were on that Ryder Cup team and are going to be on these teams going forward. They love this. They love getting to act like real athletes for 1 week. They love getting to shoot the shit in the locker room. They love reading each other's putts. They never get to do that on the PGA Tour, and it's 1 week a year it breaks up the monotony of 72-hole stroke play events so beautifully. And I think these guys really lean into it. And I think the international team, they don't get a Ryder Cup, right? Like that's what you're saying, Riggs. Like they don't get that chance. I'm sure they'd love to play in a Ryder Cup, but too bad that they were born in Australia or they were born in South Africa. So this for them is the pinnacle and the only team competition they get to play in. And it was really, really cool. And I think it's just really cynical to write off the President's Cup and say, oh, because the Americans have won this or that. It was competitive. And the matches themselves were more competitive than the final score. The Americans were up 8-2 after the first 2 days. But 8 of those matches, 8 of the 10 matches got to at least the 17th hole. It was just that the Americans dominated the close matches. They won 5 out of the first 8 and only lost 1 of them. I think they have the other 2. So the matches themselves were competitive. The final score was more than respectable, a lot more respectable than last year's Ryder Cup. And I don't know, we were all on the ground. It felt like a big sporting event. It's so weird seeing all these people on Twitter say, oh, the President's Cup is useless. The President's Cup is pointless. We're walking around and there's 50,000 people who definitely don't feel like it's pointless. They've bought their tickets. They're having the time of their lives. It felt big on the ground. It felt big watching it. I think it was a really successful President's Cup for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, there was juice. There was a lot of juice.
There was.
There was a lot of juice. For some reason, I don't know what it was. I don't know if there was, people were over juicing it because they wanted it to be good or that it was naturally juiced. But I had the juice. I was fucking quenched. My thirst was quenched. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I wanted guys to make putts, and that's all you can ask for when you're watching a sporting event. It's like, can I please have something that matters on this? It's not like, I think a lot of people thought this was going to be the dog days of summer baseball, where it's like no one really cares like what's going to happen. You know what the result's going to be. One team's 30 games ahead in first place, and you're just going to get through it, and hopefully you see a home run. Like, that was not what this was. This was fucking Sunday, President's Cup, putts have to go in the hole. That white ball has to go inside that hole or else your team is going to lose. And that's what we got. We really got it. And I love when guys react the way they react. Some guys were shitting on JT for like being a little bit corny and whatever.
It's 1 week a year. It's 1 week a year.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously there's some guys that are better at it than others. I think JT's probably pretty low on the list of like who actually does it the best. He does feel forced. Like the dab to the crowd was tough. But like a guy like Max Homa, where he's already screaming, let's fucking go before the whole crowd screams because he knew it was in the back of the cup before anyone else did. That's fucking awesome. That's a guy that's like, that's coming from the balls. And it's just, he's screaming out all of his team oriented like anger and competitiveness. He just wanted to tell everyone to go suck his dick. It's that, he's like, fuck you. I made that putt. Let's go. Like, our team's winning now. That's awesome. We never get that shit in the PGA Tour. So that was so much fun to get that.
And there were also moments with JT today versus Siwoo Kim where he's complaining about putts not being given to him. Now, in a normal situation, I would probably be shitting on JT. I tweeted about it being like, you probably don't want to upset Justin Thomas. But in an event like this, I love that shit. Like, I get that we've probably shit on JT in the past for similar antics, like during not a tournament like this. But when it's this and the USA is on his back and he's representing America, I'm into JT like complaining that Siwoo Kim is not giving him 2-footers. I love that shit.
I also think JT does it to rattle the guy. I don't think he does it like, right? Like, he's clearly playing head games. Because yesterday, I think Saturday there was a viral clip that went out of like Spieth looking at JT for like a, should we give this? And JT immediately being like, nope. And it was a 2-footer. So I think he literally just does that to rattle other guys, which is smart. Like, there's no reason not to rattle people. And it's such momentum. Match play is so momentum based. And man, it was fucking fun to watch. You had so many awesome moments with Spieth and JT. And to Frankie's point, it wasn't like these guys had to just walk out there and they were going to win their match. They had to have amazing moments to win their matches. They had to hole huge putts, hit huge recovery shots, like calm each other down because they have such a big putt that if they don't make this, the match is tied and they could lose the match. And that was throughout every fucking group. And even the teams that dominated and had the amazing records like Spieth and JT, like Xander and Cantlay, like these teams were in moment after moment after moment that could have so easily gone the other way. And I think of like Sam Burns to me. I think Scotty didn't really have it all week, but Sam Burns to me was playing fucking great. The guy's record
he played great.
Was winless. He was like whatever it was, 0-3-1 or something. He played Every time I looked, he's making putts. Every time I looked, he was hitting a drive like 350 on the 18th hole, and he lost every fucking match. So it's like, it's not like you just had to show up as the U.S. team and you could win. Like, they still had those iconic moments that we're going to talk about, that we have talked about, and they still only won by 5 points. So it's like you had to show up and play world-class golf. And like, you know, I was chatting with somebody today where it was guys, I don't know who I was talking. Maybe it was our buddy Eric last night, but it was like, you in golf, any given practice round, like Sung Jae Im could go out there against Colin Morikawa and beat him by 5 shots. Like any given practice round, Bezadenho like could go out
Any
there.
PGA Tour round, it happens all the time.
Any time. So it's like, that's just because they're different in the world rankings and all that. And I honestly think the difference in the whole thing came out to like the first couple days, the internationals just didn't look comfortable. They just literally weren't comfortable. They didn't make putts. And then it ended up being whatever the score was after day 2. It was like 8-2 or whatever. It was like they ended up losing by less than that. So it was like they were so kind of just trying to get the jitters out, and they hadn't been there. And U.S. is coming off a Ryder Cup where they stopped them last year. Like that little difference at the beginning, it led to a huge lead, was kind of the difference in the whole thing. Other than that, it was pretty fucking even.
Yeah, it was pretty even. I think the internationals, they were down 8-2, so they after the first 2 days they won more points than the Americans did, right? Because they're down by 6 and they only lost by 5. So they really fought back. I was pleasantly surprised with how the golf course played. The greens were really, 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 really fast. I mean, you could see it on TV. We could see it in person. They were glassy, and the rough was more significant than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a classic Hazeltine setup where there's basically no rough, and where the greens were kind of soft to where the Americans could just pound it anywhere and they could hold the greens. But it wasn't like that. And the greens were so tough that you really had to put a premium on hitting fairways. And what I really liked was you had to really think about how strategic you were with your putts, right? Because like if you had like a 15-footer to win the hole, the greens were so fast that if you did the classic move where you're like, oh, I don't want to leave it short, I want to jam it in the hole, it could easily run 5 or 6 feet by. It happened to Billy Horschel today. There were a lot of guys that we saw who had like 4-footers that they blew like 6 or 7 feet by. So I thought the golf course played really, really just it was more of a test than I thought it would be, and I thought the crowds were great as well. So and a smart move by them switching the golf course around for 13, 14, 15 to be where they were. Usually those the Green
those
Mile
holes are incredible.
Yeah, usually the Green Mile is 16, 17, and 18. They moved it up to 13, 14, 15 to ensure that everyone would get there. And it's cool when you're at the golf course, there's a pond that all those holes kind of move around. And so when all the matches get there at the same time, you can kind of see multiple different holes at once. It was a very, very cool stage.
Yeah, it was incredible. Really, really cool. Every time you saw that area of the golf course, it's just you were so glued. So many good shots were being hit on those holes. So yeah, Quail Hollow for sure just always delivers. It feels like that course is Trevor Immelman said it reminds him a lot of Augusta, and like once he said that, every time I saw a drone shot or just like a sweeping shot over one of those ponds, you're like, man, this place is special. It really is.
Yeah,
it
has the same like really hard cuts of the bunkers where the ball, there's no rough in front of them. They just roll right into the bunkers.
In the last decade, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe Home Security to protect their home. I have a home that's protected by Simply Safe. Frankie has a home that's protected by Simply Safe. My fine parents have a home that's protected by Simply Safe. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. I got cameras outside my home that are just watching, monitoring, surveying what's going on. They all come from Simply Safe. I can just open up the app, check it out. I can change the code to the front door with my app. It's that simple. It's incredible, and it's very, very simple to set up and get it all going. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents. I love anything that has an agent. I like professional monitoring agents who always have your back. With 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or you cannot be reached. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. They got HD security cameras, as we've discussed. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/foreplay. Go today, claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/foreplay. That's one word, FOREPLAY. There's no safe like Simply Safe. 20% off. Go to simplysafe.com/foreplay.
The U.S. team really just outputted the internationals.
Yeah.
It felt like they just made a lot more putts. And I think Paul Azinger said that the internationals had 5 or 6 guys who ranked outside the top 100 in strokes gained putting last year on the PGA Tour, and it showed.
Adam Scott, dude. Every time they panned Adam Scott, he just barely missed a putt. I mean, every fucking time. And he was striping it. On Saturday afternoon, he played lights out to get the win in that match. Lights out. He didn't miss a fucking swing, it felt like. But he was kind of like that the whole week. Every time they showed him in his first match on Thursday, it was like he legitimately, and it wasn't like he was yanking putts that weren't even close. He's got his whole broom and the sweep fucking thing, which is never
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
But man, he legitimately just misses every putt, and it's barely, and that has to be so infuriating. I know we've had the debate on the show about, like, would you rather make every putt and not strike it well, or strike it well and miss every putt, because that's got to be infuriating. Watching Adam Scott this week, that had to drive him absolutely bananas, because he's putting it on a string and he just couldn't make a thing to save his life.
We got to talk about your boy fucking Tom Kim, rep. I mean, your guy, what did you tweet out that you want to be the VP of his fan club or something like that?
The Tom Kim fan club. It's hard to make a better impression going 2-3, right? He lost most of his matches, but what a show. I mean, it really started with I spoke to him for the first time on Tuesday. I think they did their interviews, and he's just funny. He's smart. He's charismatic. He speaks perfect English, which I think is going to make him a much bigger star in the U.S. because he can relate to fans in ways that like a Hideki Matsuyama can't. He grew up just idolizing Tiger Woods. He told this incredible story about how he told this incredible story about how he was rooting against Y.E. Yang in the 2009 PGA Championship when he beat Tiger for 2 reasons. Number 1, because he loved Tiger Woods. But number 2, because at 7 years old, he already knew that he really wanted to be the first Asian man to win a major championship. And he knew that if Y.E. Yang did it, then he wouldn't be able to do it. And 13 years later, he's playing in the President's Cup and just going absolutely crazy. And you could tell it kind of pissed off the Americans. We asked Xander Schauffele in the press conference, what kind of effect does that have on you when a guy is just going crazy like that? And he's like, yeah, he's 20. He's 20. You don't have a lot of scar tissue when you're 20. And it wasn't rude, but there was a certain edge to it, right? Like you could tell that him hooting and hollering with Siwoo on that Saturday, like it got under Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele's skin a little bit. And he was the spark plug. And I cannot for the life of me understand why Trevor Immelman waited to send him out. He was 10th out of 12 singles matches. It makes no sense. He said in this press conference on Saturday that, they had their system and they want to stick to their system. Well, I'm telling you, that's bullshit. The mark of any good coach and any good leader, right, is adapting to the situation at hand. Your system has you in a 4-point deficit going into Sunday singles. You have a guy who is on top of the golfing world and who is clearly getting under the American skin. You need early momentum to inject that belief into the entire team, and you put the guy out 10th? Come on, Trevor. Come on, man.
Trevor about this.
It was weird. It was weird for sure. I couldn't believe it either. You got to put him out there
straight up. He'll tell you right to your face why he made that decision.
Well, he said that they have numbers crunchers. I saw Mark Brody, who was an American, wearing the international gear all week. He was definitely doing stats work for them, and they were playing the percentages. They definitely had a plan before the week, and they stuck to their plan, which they felt like gave them the best chance. And I get that. I totally get that in theory. But when Tom Kim had the week that Tom Kim was having, and you have that momentum that he basically single-handedly built on Saturday night, and then you wait to put him out 10th. I mean, you put him out first or second or third. Get the noise going, get under the skin, get some momentum. It just felt like by the time his match mattered, the whole thing was basically decided.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I mean, I know it's always it's hindsight. Hindsight's 2020 for
sure.
But
it wasn't hindsight because I said in the moment, and everyone said in the moment, this is a really dumb decision.
Absolutely, but it's also they were up by 4. They ended up winning by 5. It was it's not like that was going to change anything. It's so
doesn't mean it wasn't a bad decision though.
But I don't know if his thinking was, in order for us to win this thing, we're going to have it come down to the last few matches. There's no way it was going to be over by the last few matches. So he's like, we're going to need our guy to be there. And if it doesn't come down to that, we fucking lost anyways. But I get that the theory is the momentum and all of that. And I'm as pissed as anybody that we didn't have a Homa, Tom Kim matchup that we actually thought mattered, like the JT Siwoo Kid, like that match at the top of the day got all the love. It was awesome. That moment on 18, whichever it was, what was it, the first, second match of the whole day, when like Siwoo made and JT missed, like that felt huge. And if you had that with Tom Kim and Max Homa, like that would have been awesome instead of having it be like slapped at the end. But my point is, like, without hearing from Trevor or having not heard from him yet, I imagine there had to be a pretty damn good reason for it.
All he said was that they had a system, they had a plan, and they were sticking to their plan. But like, look at what the Americans did, right? They had JT and Spieth in their first 2 matches, and I think Cantlay might have been third. Like, you put your horses out first, and it's what the Europeans did in 2012. If you look at the 2012 thing, Tiger was like playing, I think he was last. It was like, what are you doing? And the Europeans front loaded. They put all their eggs in the basket. It doesn't matter how the guys in the end play if you never get to the end. I understand it wasn't the difference. It wound up not really mattering, but I just is a proper head scratcher decision.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I'd be curious to see what he says now. Like, I don't think he was going to reveal too much yesterday when he's asked about it. Like,
fair enough.
He's like, we're in the middle of fucking competition. I did what I did. I'd be curious to hear what he says about it now. It was a bummer, and by all accounts, it would make more sense to put him out first or second or third. And the momentum matters, and people, your whole team, if you're from a national standpoint, seeing the flags on the board and going the other direction fires you up and the whole deal, and they didn't get any of that. And clearly they had their moment in the middle when it looked like they might be making a run. But it just didn't happen for him, and it's a bummer that the Tom Kim match was essentially forgotten about. Max Homa, we do have to talk about. Max Homa was as excited about this event as any human being, especially on the American side, as you could possibly be. He talked about how last year during the Ryder Cup, he was part of the group that got fit for the apparel, but, knew he wasn't really going to get picked on the team, and how that, obviously lit a fire under him a little bit. He talked about going into this year, how much this meant to him. Max Homa is also just a huge PGA Tour guy. He's a huge just golf guy. He thinks it's so cool that he's on the PGA Tour. I've talked to him about this many times, about major championship weeks. He just watches live from coverage the whole week. He loves this shit. And now the fact that he's actually on the President's Cup team for the first time, and then the fact that he got put in those situations multiple times where he got to hit huge putts late or to finish off matches with everyone around, and he became the guy. The week after he won his 5th fucking PGA Tour event in his first team competition, fact that he went 4-0 and went undefeated, fact that he's a fan of the program, fan of Pardon My Take, or friend of the program, friend of Pardon My Take, friend of really everybody. I don't know how he makes the time of the day to be on every show. He's a media slut, as we've called him.
He really is. I feel like he's boys with every single guy with a podcast.
But, like, good for Max fucking Homa. He's the man. He's such a good dude. And the fact that he went out there and goes from the social media darling and the media slut that he is to, like, this Zen-like savage inside the ropes is super fucking impressive.
Yeah, so I called his coach, Mark Blackburn, yesterday because I just wanted to get like an inside view of this meteoric rise. And we had a really interesting conversation. He basically said he started working with Max. It wasn't as long ago as I thought it was. It was after the 2020 U.S. Open, and he said that Max couldn't really drive the ball consistently, and he couldn't hit a proper flighted wedge. And we talked about, how their work has gone so far beyond just the normal technical stuff, because Max has a bit of what's called imposter syndrome, which is kind of this feeling that, I've had this kind of thing before where it's like you don't feel like you deserve where you are in life, and you're kind of looking around like, how am I here, right? Like, how am I playing in the President's Cup? How am I winning on the PGA Tour? And the only way to cure that is with cold, hard facts. And the facts are that Max Homa's now won 5 PGA Tour events. He's now played and starred in a competition featuring 24 of the best players in the world. He went 4-0-0. He's done it, and when he gets in contention, he wins. When he has a chance to close out the match, he closes. He makes those putts. He came back to beat Tom Kim today after taking a few gut punches early. I think he was 3 down. And when he had that birdie putt to win on 18 on, I think it was Friday, you knew he was going to make it, or maybe it was Thursday. I can't remember, but you knew he was going to make it. He's got an air about him and a quiet confidence now that it almost feels like his struggles makes him stronger now, because he has the perspective of like, I've been there and I'm not there anymore. And I know I can do this because I've proven to myself that I can pick myself off the ground from the lowest depths possible in professional golf to where he is today. And the coolest part about this, and I wrote about this in my article on barstoolsports.com, there's still so much more to go, right? Like, it feels like we've been watching this Netflix documentary in real time, right? Of this, because he's let us in. He lets you in on the journey. Everyone feels this sort of parasocial connection with Max. You feel like you're friends with him because he just lets you in. And it's not, he's almost there, but he's not there yet, right? He's never finished in the top 10 of a major. And that's a huge goal and a huge, gaping hole in his resume that he's fully aware of. And I think that's what's so exciting is like, we all feel like we've been on this journey with him.
I cannot laugh you saying the word gaping hole in the middle of like the most incredible, breakdown of Max Homa's
soliloquy.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. It's a gap in his a gaping gap in his resume. And he knows that. And I think it's just really exciting that he still has far to go. And Mark Blackburn said, like, I genuinely believe that Max can be the number one player in the world. And we're on our way there. We've got 15 more spots to go, is what he said to me.
It is cool, man. I mean, for the longest time, he was the social media guy, the guy, going after everybody's swing, roasting people's swings. It's like, oh, Max Homa, he's the guy. Yeah. I sent him a video of my swing and he made fun of me. Now, everything you guys are saying is right. He's won five times on the PGA Tour. He's just always there. And when he's there, he wins. When he can close, he closes. It's cool, man. And now you're making me like second guess my relationship with him because he's that way with everyone. And even people who he's never met, like you're saying, everyone he's talks to on social media, everyone who has watched a video of his, whatever, feels like they're his friend. And it is that way. So it's cool to see a guy like that succeed. And I'm with you, Dan. I think we are just scratching the surface. I think he's got a lot more to do.
Go watch the 4-man scramble against Max Homa. Foreplay. It's on our YouTube page. If you haven't seen it already, you're insane. I mean, you see everything that we're talking about in that one video. He's the nicest guy of all time. He really cares about the sport that he plays. And then also when he wants to turn it on, he's like the best player that's ever played the game. It's insane. Like the guy can turn it on like you've never seen. I mean, the shots he was hitting in the closing holes of our own scramble, which is an exhibition like shitstorm that we'd bring like a million camera guys, drones flying into trees, Trent's parents showing up, all this shit. And he just turns it on. He went like 4 under on the back nine, 5 under on the back nine to win a match because he was never losing on that fucking, because he's so competitive.
Place he'd never seen before, never been there.
He's never seen before, and he just tore it up. It's incredible how good of a golfer he is, and I agree. I think we all agree that this guy's going to be here for a long time, and he's going to be a problem on this tour. I mean, it's very, very evident at this point.
Max is the man. I'm sorry, I'm seeing videos of Kisner just pounding drinks. I do like when like these.
I thought Kiz was leaving. I thought Kiz wasn't staying for the celebration.
Got a 10 o'clock flight, I think he said.
Okay, he's gonna be.
Kiz is because I was talking with him about the after party and trying to get some tidbits like weeks ago. And Kiz is leaving tonight to go to Colorado. He's had an elk hunting trip booked for like years, he said.
Yeah. Barely saw him on the broadcast today. Dan, I know you tweeted about it, but boy, he was the last match and didn't end up mattering anyway, but he was just not really on the broadcast at all.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like he was playing in the President's Cup. If you didn't know he was there, you might have completely forgotten.
Finding the perfect stone for any type of jewelry is difficult, confusing, and often insanely expensive. 2 fellas on this show have gone through the experience of stones and jewelry, more so probably than 2 others on this show.
Yep, purchasing stones is an important thing in life for many different occasions, and you just have to make sure that it is, it's a very stressful and insane experience. That's very true. These lab-grown diamonds, I got my hands on some of these when we were at the upfronts, and I was taken back. I mean, I couldn't believe that these were lab-grown diamonds. They were incredible looking. The shine was insane. And the thing about these lab-grown diamonds is that they're very fairly priced, where like for each carat, it always goes up a certain amount. So it's like the more carats, it's always going to be like whether it's $1,000 for 1 carat, it's going to be that no matter what. When in these other diamond industries, you never know what it's going to be. You don't know where you're going to price it at. A lot of these things are kind of sketchy, and you don't know
You just don't know if you're getting a good deal or not.
You don't know. And this is like legit. This is what the price is. And if you want more carats, it's more. If you want less, it's less. It's very, very simple. And I really, really enjoy the product. I think it's awesome.
Lightbox is out to make the whole process of finding the perfect lab-grown diamond more straightforward and transparent.
There you go.
Lightbox lab-grown diamonds are all grown in their industry-changing lab, all grown to the same stunning standard, so they're all priced the same, equal, and fairly priced at $800 a carat. The more or less you get, the more or less you pay. Simple as that. So shop now at lightboxjewelry.com. Use the code 4play10 for 10% off. Shop loose stones for custom jewelry at lightboxjewelry.com. Use the code 4play10. That's FOREPLAY10 for 10% off. That's code 4play10.
How do we feel about our guy Kiz? I think he went 0-2-1. I mean, obviously he's a match.
2-1. I think
match
Kiz
play
is an
assassin.
entertainer. Kiz is an entertainer. He knew the thing would be better.
Where
He's
does
there for
this-
moral support.
So where do you sit
Yeah.
now? Like, obviously, if Kiz had shown up and went 3-0 and was like a dominant match play guy, obviously the conversation for Ryder Cup and all this stuff stays, in everyone's mind. But now I think it's been put to rest. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, Scotty Scheffler went 0-3-1. Should we not have him on the Ryder Cup team?
Number
You know,
one
I mean, it's
player in
just-
the world. Yeah, no, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's
there's
just
a lot
one
of
week.
factors.
Look,
Well, my point was like the factor of having Kiz was always that he is the match play guy. I'm just trying to play both sides here, saying like
It wasn't a very good golf course for him. I'll start there.
I would say the frustrating thing about Kiz, and I think he would probably agree with this too, is that the year that he absolutely, definitely should have been picked and on that team was in Paris. When
That was the perfect course for him.
Yeah.
so perfect for him. And they ended up going over there with a stacked team, and they had fucking Phil Mickelson couldn't even hit the golf ball in play. Patrick Reed and his wife called the New York Times and bitched about Spieth, and like it ended up being the biggest shit show of all time. And that was the perfect time for Kisner to actually be on the team. It was when he was like probably playing his best. It was the course that was the greatest for him. And unfortunately, I think that those opportunities, and a huge part of the reason that I did try to make the push last year was like, I don't think Kiz is going to get many more chances. I really don't. I think that if the international team this year were as stacked as they could have been with Cam Smith and all that, I honestly think they might not have picked Kiz. Like, I think Davis Love III said himself, like, oh yeah, Kiz is on the team because he's like the funniest guy. Or he said something along those lines. So I like legitimately don't. I think Kiz was not playing that well going in. He didn't even come close to making East Lake. I'm bummed out because I really think that like his chance to go in and get that chance in the Ryder Cup was in Paris, and he didn't get it. And I don't know that he'll ever get it again. I really.
we had a really funny interaction with him on the driving range. Was that Thursday or Wednesday?
No, that was I think it was or Friday maybe. Thursday,
Maybe Friday.
I don't know.
But Will Zalatoris was on property. He was hanging with the team. Obviously, he's got the hurt back, and we're standing on the driving range, and we say hi, what's up to Will, who's just the nicest guy of all time. I mean, he's just a top guy on tour. He's a big Barstool fan. He says he was watching every episode of our mini golf tournament, talking about Billy football, hitting balls into the water, and Dave smashing his putter. I mean, that's what this guy was doing while at the President's Cup. And Kiz gets in the cart with him and goes, I wouldn't be here without this guy's back. So, I mean, I love Willie Z. And he like kind of smacked him on the neck. So, I mean, the guy's very, 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 aware of why he was there. So,
And then
that's just Kiz.
yesterday he came up to me. He was hitting balls. He was about to play, and he turns around and he goes, "Hey, Rap, where are your cronies at?" And I go, well, a couple of them left. He goes, "Yeah, soon you'll discover you're the only one in this crew that works."
Oh, kid.
Jesus.
I
He
couldn't
meant
say
it.
President
He meant it in a nice way, but it was very nice. He was very warm to me. I really appreciated it.
He's
Yeah,
great.
he's great. He's
Fucking
just
judge
he's
hit
the
a
greatest.
double. Come on, man. This guy's got
I'll-
to get it over the fence.
I think Kisner's going to have to make a team on points, or I doubt that he's going to make a team going forward. I think that's probably the truth of the matter. I know Davis Love III is a Carolina guy. Kiz is obviously a South Carolina guy, so that probably helped him the most. And yeah, I don't think that Kiz is going to be a captain's pick, unfortunately, going forward. I think he probably knows that. I think this was a chance for him if he had gone out there and lit it up, but Kiz just wasn't playing well coming in either. I mean, his fighting his driver, he had some bad fucking drives this week, and he didn't have his best week. So,
You know who makes me downright googly-eyed? Jordan Spieth. When
Oh
he's
my God.
playing well, dude, he's just, I see him and he's playing well and he's giving great post-round interviews. And it's like the guy that, it's like your first love and he's back in your life. I see him playing well and I get giddy. I tweeted out the gif of the dad from Step Brothers when he meets, I can't even think of his name. I was moving so long, but he's just like, he's just so, yeah, Derek. When I am that dad when I see
Never
Jordan
heard you
Spieth.
laugh like that.
Yeah, right. He's like, oh God, you're so impressive. That's how I feel when I think about Jordan Spieth and him back in our lives. I know he's been
like
back
that.
for a little while now. He was gone for a little bit. Now he's back. Now him and JT, they're best buddies again. They probably always were, but now it's more in the spotlight again. I just watch him out there, and I'm like, God, you're so impressive. I love you so much.
Just think about how much fun that is for Jordan Spieth and
Oh.
Justin Thomas. Like, they are legitimately best friends. Like, best friends. Imagine playing in the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup, right? Because this is now 3 competitions in a row or 4 competitions in a row. They've been partners, and they're going to continue to be partners, right? Like, they would have won all 4 of their matches. You're not about to not put them out first out in foursomes or 4-ball in the Ryder Cup next year. Like, they are just a partner, and Jordan Spieth had to break up with Patrick Reed. He had to, and it was going to be ugly, and he knew it was going to be ugly. But it was worth it for him because he knew, okay, I want to play for the next 15 years in these team competitions with my best friend. And so he cut Patrick loose. He took JT as a partner. They actually played well in Paris. They were one of the few bright spots, and they've been money ever since. And watching Jordan Spieth putt and watching Corey Connors putt, it's unbelievable that they are playing the same sport and they're only separated by 13 spots in the world rankings. Like, I understand that Corey Connors is a ball striker first and foremost, and I
Not this week,
understand.
he won.
Dude, that was rough out there. That was rough to watch. I mean, he was bad all week, and he was hitting it all over the place. He made a couple of double bogeys on the front 9, but we talked about this briefly earlier in the podcast. Watching him try to get that ball on the hole on the 17th hole, it was like he never played golf before.
It was bad. It was bad.
And he tried to walk in the 4-footer, and it like limped by on the low lip. Like, it was just...
That was one of those, like, you could tell he literally didn't want to putt it. It was almost
Dude, he was trying to kill time.
Yes, right. Like, like Trent, those moments when we always make you tee off first in the scrambles and stuff, and you're like, I just don't want to hit this. It was literally like if you just refused to walk onto the tee and hit the ball, and we were like, oh, the sun went down, like the video's just over, we're not going to do this. That was like what he was trying to do. He legit just refused to hit the putt.
run the
I was like,
clock
you have
out.
to hit the putt. Like, go hit the putt. And then he missed it. He obviously fucking missed it. I was trying to bet live. I was like going through New Jersey. I was trying to bet live that he was going to miss the putt. Like, obviously it wasn't an option, but I was like, there's no way he's going to make this 4-foot putt.
It was tough for Team Canada because Taylor Pendrith also went 0-for. So Canada got 0 points. They get the President's Cup, the next President's Cup, but it was a rough one. But yeah, there were some guys who were super impressive, like Cam Davis. This is another guy. It shows you that anything can happen in match play. This guy's number 66 in the world, and he was a horse this week. And, I was thinking we Tom Kim and Cameron Young is shot to stardom, and this is what the PJ Tour has talked about, which is like the ecosystem is bigger than any stars. None of us knew who Tom Kim was 18 months ago or who Cameron Young was 18 months ago, and now they're starring in these big events. There's so many players, so many just ballers just knocking on the door waiting for that opportunity that these guys going to live. It's not like it's going to make the product that much worse on television. It's just that there's going to be a new protagonist. That's how deep professional golf is right now.
Cam Young hates me.
Why?
Maybe my face. I don't know. I called him Eeyore once because I said he doesn't have much emotions. He kind of just like floats around the course.
Oh,
and...
that was made another part. That was what you said.
Yeah, I just made another part. That's just what he does.
We, Frankie and I, one of the days, I guess the only day that we made it
Another
to,
part.
That is him. That's pretty good.
Frankie and I were standing at the front of the tunnel. I think this had to be the day where Riggs was already over there hobnobbing with George W. Bush, and Frankie and I were still at the front of the tunnel, and Cam Young came up for his tee time and walked by us, looked Frankie right in the face, and just gave him nothing.
Dude, it was...
I watched it happen. He didn't even see me for whatever reason, but he looked at Frankie, and it was one of those moments where somebody has to say something, and nobody said anything.
I did. I mousy said like, all right, boys. It was like him and Scotty, right? No.
Play with Colin in the beginning and then with Kiz, I think.
It was the
Kiz.
Kiz. It was
the Kiz. Sorry. Yeah, it was Kiz. So I was like, all right, let's go, boys. And he slowed down, stared at me, and looked at me like, you're a loser. Like, it was one of those just like...
Oh, wow. So it wasn't like he just didn't know who you were. It was like...
dude, he looked right at me after I said, let's go, boys, and just didn't even smirk. Like, not even a thanks. He was just like...
To be fair, we don't know if he knows anything about us. We were reading into the facial expression.
I think he hates me. I think he hates me.
We've been wrong about that stuff before with Spaeth and with Rory McIlroy. We were wrong about that.
True. We have been wrong. This one felt pretty deep, but I'll let him come on the show and say that he doesn't. But and there's no hard feelings. Like, you don't have to like me. Just because we have a golf podcast doesn't mean he has to like me.
Made another par.
No, just fucking made another birdie.
That's one of the funniest things I've heard.
So yeah, that was and then Morikawa. I really like Colin Morikawa. I mean, I get googly eyed for him. He wasn't playing that day that we were in that in the tunnel, and he had just talked to George W. Bush and Bill Clinton, and he kind of came in and he's like, "You guys teeing up next?" Like Morikawa, because we were in there, and Morikawa was like, "You guys going to tee up next? Like, we could use some more guys. I'm going to go out and hit a couple balls after this thing. So if you guys want to just join me," like he was being really like jokey about it, and I was like, "Dude, you just shook the hands of 2 presidents and you yapped it up. Like, what was that about?" He's like, "This is insane." He's like, "This is insane. What's going on out here?"
He played awesome. He was awesome today. I think he had 6 birdies and an eagle.
He was amazing today. And I tried to Trent. I'm like, that's just a regular dude that's just better at golf than us. Like, that guy's out there kind of just like freaking out that he just met a couple presidents. And he's just, every time we have an interaction with him, he's just very, 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 very down to earth. Yeah,
it's like Rory. It's like they're normal, nice guys who just happen to have this golfing superpower.
Yeah,
right.
Well, there are some other guys who have an aura, right? Like Dustin Johnson is not. You would not describe Dustin Johnson as like a normal guy with a superpower.
No.
Like that's a golfing cyborg, right? Same with Tiger, or same with Brooks, or even Phil's like kind of a freak, right? Like you wouldn't say. But Colin and Rory are just normal ass dudes who happen to swing the golf club beautifully.
Yeah,
there is Morikawa does have a little bit something where, like, sometimes we'll say things to him. He's so competitive, and I know Rory is obviously super competitive. Morikawa wears it on his sleeve a little bit more. He'll like, if you say something that he doesn't agree with, he'll be like, "No, I don't like what's the expectations thing we always put on him?" And he's like, "I don't have expectations. I have goals." And it's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, he'll bite back a little bit more than Rory will,
for sure. But he's still awesome.
I have to give a shout out to that Marshall on 18 who just completely fucked Hideki Matsuyama's golf ball. I mean, he hits one up the left side, and it's coming in hot. And it probably would have stayed in the rough, but it was on such a line. There's a chance it could have hit the rough, bounced, and gone down the fairway. And he could have had a big putt for birdie on the 72nd hole to win, or the 18th hole to win his match. And it hits this fucking Marshall in the kneecap, who the guy might as well have been standing in the fairway. I mean, the guy was
what
within,
the hell was he doing there?
He was within like 5 yards of the edge of the fairway on a dog leg left. So he's
that's
like
what I'm saying.
on the
Like
left side.
everyone's trying to cut that corner. It's not like he's on the right side near the bunker. Like he's right where they're trying to hit it.
And it hits his fucking kneecap. I had to take off his leg. And Hideki's ball kicks 20 yards left, and he loses, 30 or 40 yards at least of distance on the whole thing. He still then hit an amazing shot to get it on the back. He had a really tough shot, hit the pin, almost went in the hole, and ended up having the match, thankfully, and not losing the match. But that Marshall, he's got to be Team USA or something, because he was just standing in the worst spot I've ever seen in ball hits.
What other sport? What other sport does where a random 55-year-old accountant from Charlotte decides to stand have like an impact on the game? I mean, I guess it's like in baseball when the guy reaches over to try and catch a foul ball. Mm-hmm. But like, haven't they kind of gotten rid of that now? Like, this was flagrant.
Fiasco Bosco, that's why the Yankees dynasty like went off and running, because Derek Jeter in right field and the whole thing. But
even baseball, like if you catch a home run, isn't there a rule against that? Like if you're leaning over, they give
there
you.
Is now.
Yeah, in the 90s and the 2000s, there was no review, so it was just like by the umpire's discretion if that's a home run, if it was going to go over. Now they're able to like say that they thought that the apex of the ball was going to be able to go over, whatever. They have the whole thing.
I thought it was interesting.
It is crazy.
They said that I think Immelman or maybe Ogilvy like found out and didn't tell Hideki. Do you think you would want to know that your ball hit the Marshall and that you actually hit a better shot?
Not going to help you till after, I don't think. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'd like to know that, like, oh, maybe that wasn't such a bad shot. Like, I didn't hit it here.
Right. That's the only part of it where it's like, well, then how did my ball end up here? Like, I don't have it anymore? I'm Hideki Matsuyama.
Yeah, I'm washed now.
My drive went 220 yards. I don't understand. Like, I actually think that would eat at my brain. Like, if I hit the ball about as well as I usually hit it, and I'm Hideki Matsuyama, I have a green jacket, I'm really good at golf, and then I go out there and my drive went 225 yards, it's like, why is that the case? Oh, it hit a guy in the knee. That makes a ton more sense, instead of now I got to think about how I thought I hit it well and I didn't.
I don't know if I can
That's
be able
a
to
fair
sleep.
point.
You're not supposed to sleep, right, when you have a concussion?
Oh boy,
You
that's.
should go,
I think
you
that's
should go to the
actually.
hospital.
I don't think
Isn't
that's
this
true
how,
anymore. I don't think
oh.
the concussion sleeping
Didn't
thing
Bob
is true anymore.
Saget pass away
Although,
like this?
let's be clear. I am not a doctor, so I don't know anything about any of this.
Bob Saget hit
Yeah.
his head and then went to bed and like he died.
Yeah, I know. Sad one. Really sad one. But yeah, Hideki got screwed by the marshal. Forget the off-season work. Shopify makes it simple to sell to anyone from anywhere. Whether you're selling warm-ups or wall hangers, it's time to start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of businesses worldwide. I'm sure you're very prideful about your business. You want to run it well, but you also don't want to be bogged down with all the different headaches that go into business. Someone's going to help you do all that and do it much easier and simply and more efficiently, and that someone is Shopify. Shopify fields all the sales channels to grow a winning business, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, which we know about. Trent's a TikTok star now, and thanks to 24/7 support and free on-demand business courses, Shopify is on your team every step of the way. Try Shopify for free today and start selling everywhere. Sign up for free trial at shopify.com/barstool. Go to shopify.com/barstool to start selling online today. That's shopify.com/barstool. I will also have on here just that Paul Azinger is just, I think he's kind of tough to listen to. I know, Dan, you put it in the group text during the coverage. We're not usually a podcast that just like bitches about coverage. That's not necessarily our forte or our specialty, but I do think he's starting to get a little bit of faldo on him, where he kind of comes off like an idiot sometimes. And I will say too, Zinger has been nice to us. I mean, was it in Australia when we met him and he was like, "Oh, Barstool," and he was showing us his app and he was into it. I just think he says some fucking idiotic things on the coverage.
I just don't know if he does his homework, and that's the part that, as a Big J journalist, sometimes can be a little bit tough to wrap your head around.
You must fucking hate me.
No, you don't. You're not on NBC for 6 hours, just narrating the tournament. He was talking about Siwoo Kim and saying, he never shows this much emotion. It's like the guy snapped his fucking putter at the Masters and had to putt with a 3-wood for like 6 holes when he was on the cut line.
True.
Like, obviously this guy burns hot. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's the kind of thing where it's like, it's so easy to complain and you're never going to like praise the guy. Like Dan Hicks, I think is great, but we don't, you're not going to tweet Dan Hicks is a great commentator because no one's going to like your tweet. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But yeah, that felt like the coverage, they clearly try to like build up these narratives, which I get, right? Like maybe the average Joe like needs those sort of narratives, but what ends up happening is they don't show that many golf shots. A lot of it is like showing guys and showing old highlights and showing Davis Love driving around in his cart from
so much of that
from a weird angle and showing guys lining up their putts. And it's like, you kind of just want to see more golf shots. I also thought there wasn't nearly enough top tracer this week. I feel like there were a lot of tee shots where you didn't know where it was going. Kind of felt like I was watching golf in 2006. Just not great. Wasn't great all around.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's very frustrating in these events, especially when there's only, during the alternate shot especially, there's only 5 golf balls, or I guess 10 golf balls in the entire play. There's only 10 balls, live balls in play. So it's inexcusable for us to miss any shot. They should never say like while we were away or a little bit earlier like this, like that. There's only 10 balls in play. You should be able to show literally everything. And then on Saturday morning, there's only 4 balls in play. They only do 4 matches of the alternate shot. And so you're like, there's just not that many golf balls out there that you cannot afford to miss any single shots. It's just inexcusable. And so that part was driving me crazy when they were doing that. Singles, I get a little bit. It's like, there's only 4 or 5 matches that really matter. And if you look on the board in the last, there's somebody's 4 up in the last match and it's not going to matter anyways, like basically the Kisner thing going on. It's like, fine, I understand if I don't see every one of those shots, but like you should pretty much see everything. And there were moments where they would just cut to like even the Tom Kim Max Homa match, which was still kind of, when they were in the mid part of their round, was still pretty important, where they would just be like, oh yeah, Max really struggled there, so now we find him 2 down and he's putting for par on 9. You're like, what the what? Like, how did I not see any of that? So that type of shit was driving me crazy.
That drives me crazy. And can we please retire the phrase "this from a moment ago" or "you heard that roar earlier"? Just lie to me. Just fucking lie to me. Tell me that it's live, or don't even say that it's live. Just show me the fucking golf shot. But like the 2 coolest shots today, Spieth hold a really long putt and Sebastian Munoz hold out for eagle from the bunker, and they fucking ruined both of them. It was like, oh, you heard that roar from a minute ago, and here's where it came from. I just don't understand. I don't understand what's the utility. Like, what's the value add of telling us that it's not live? I just don't get it.
Right, you're ruined. Like, obviously, we know something happens now. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's horrific. I agree.
Right, I agree. Lie, just lie. Who can? Like, who's gonna?
It's like they're being honest, thinking they have to be honest. Like,
but why do they have to be honest? No one's gonna be like, oh, you showed me this live. It actually happened 37 seconds ago.
It's almost on their producers. Like, that's the producer's fault for like being like, hey, we're gonna go to this putt that was just made. Like, what, they should almost lie to the guys in the booth. Be like,
right, because that's the part of it is like they.
How else would they know that it just happened? Someone just told them that.
Right, what they think is that their reaction isn't going to be genuine, but the only reason it's not going to be genuine is because what you're saying, because the producer told them that something happened. Like, just show the announcers like it's live all the time.
Right. And just say like Spieth for birdie on 9. And then if he makes it, then afterwards be like, that was a moment ago. Or so like don't have to fucking say beforehand.
Because the best commentator stuff happens when they're reacting like we are reacting in our couches, basically being like, oh, what a putt. Like, if you lose that by saying, well, your producers in your ear being like, hey, we're going to cut to 17, Spieth just made a bomb. Like, you're ruining for the commentator and us now. So yeah, I think all this hate needs to go to the producers inside the truck.
Okay, sure. You could check. I'm gonna project it onto this show, and then wherever it should get dispersed after that, if it's producer, just whoever is out there listening and knows you're responsible, accept my hate.
You know who you are.
Yeah, I'm upset about it. Other thing in my notes, Webb Simpson got us a dinner reservation on Friday night, and it was
Very
delicious.
nice, yeah.
It's Steak 48. Legitimately from the driving range while he was on comms with Zach Johnson and with Freddie Couples and with Davis Love III. He just called his guy at Steak 48 and got us a dinner reservation for Friday night. It was delicious.
Really nice.
The night before we couldn't get in, so I mean, he's just the nicest guy ever.
He's so nice. I can't imagine like how what did that was he like, hey, I was just wondering if if it's not too much trouble. Like, I can't imagine him being like the sly guy who's like calling his guy being like, yo, I need a table.
I want to watch football with Webb Simpson. Like, I want to sit down a full Sunday and just be like, you want to just watch like the NFL and like talk about our fantasy teams? Like, he's like, I want to be friends with him.
I couldn't agree more. He's such a good dude. And yeah, I walked right in. He texted me. He texted me like Friday evening too, after I'm sure they're in the team room, like discussing which, groups they're going to go with or how their strategy's looking for Saturday afternoon. And he's just like, yeah, it's under my name. So make sure you drop my name, ask for Oliver. I'm like, okay, walk right in. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I got a table for Webb Simpson. Oliver booked it. And they're like, no problem, sir. It's fucking crazy. So yeah, shout out to him. I love that man. He's like the nicest guy in the world. We will get him on this show. And then I'm sure he'll just be one of our guys, probably forever. And then I have to give Danielle Kang a shout out. Danielle Kang, who's back playing again. She announced during the US Open that she was diagnosed with a tumor on her spine, didn't compete for several months, is back. She gave an incredible interview yesterday when she got herself into contention, where she just started crying, talking about how much it meant to her, the fact that she's able to get back into contention. Shot 7 under today, including a hole-out eagle on the final hole to get herself into a playoff. Ended up losing in the playoff, but I don't think she even cares about that. The fact that she's back. Shout out to our girl Danielle Kang, the people
awesome.
golfer. Yeah,
both of us cried this weekend, so that's good.
How are you feeling now, Frankie? Are you in pain?
Similar reasons, for sure.
Yeah. Are you in pain as we speak? Or
yeah, I am. My right eye hurts. Everything on the side's starting to go numb. I'm nervous. Now it's in my head, but it's not about me. That's an amazing story with Danielle. Again, you can see exactly the type of person that she is in the 4-man scramble. She is an incredible, incredible person. Very, very funny. Shoots the shit better than anyone, can take it and give it. It's nuts. She's got a mouth on her where she's like, oh, fuck you. Like, she's the best. She's so cool, and I couldn't be happier for her. So it's good to see that she's back. And and playing good golf again.
She's phenomenal. She, I mean, at one point in our scramble, she was just sitting down Indian style on the green next to our putts, just chirping us as each one of us putted. So if you haven't watched that scramble video, watch that one too. Frankie, I'm curious if do you feel like your photo with George W. Bush, President George W. Bush, is now like not as I don't know. Is it different now that the photo was pretty much dominated by Trent's mishap with the handshake?
I don't think so. I mean, I like the fact that it caused a viral moment. Like, I just think the whole thing. I think what saved me was the hat removal. And I think a lot of people were able to piece together, like, that was my involvement in that moment, was like, all right, at least I respected the president, unlike you did. But, like, for me, that was a huge, huge moment to be able to be like, all right, I did the thing, and then I was a part of. I mean, the picture of George W. Bush and me looking at Trent like he's an idiot is one of the funnier things I've ever seen in my entire life. We're both like, dude, take the photo. It's like, at that point, he was no longer like the president. He was just a dude that just wanted to keep moving, and Trent was stopping him from doing that because we were all a part of this thing that we couldn't get done.
I also don't remember the last time I heard someone say "son of a gun" in the wild.
Oh, snap that son of a gun!
Snap
right
that
now.
son of a gun!
Snap that son of a gun!
Perfect.
I want to talk about
Texas
real
fucking
quick.
Bush.
I got into another altercation with the same group of people that I did this weekend that I did a couple years ago when I first came on this podcast with the good situation, the putting. My buddy Andrew and Kyle, where I ended up screaming in the Borelli's parking lot for 3 hours.
Oh,
where
no.
All the girlfriends had to come and pick us up, and we all had
Not
to get
good.
driven.
The group, like good
No,
putting
no,
situation.
good. No, the actual good. Like when you give a putt.
I was like, oh man, do we have beef that I don't know about?
No. Look, when you actually, like, there was a good situation on a green where, like, I said good, and my partner didn't. Whatever. I'm not going to rehash that. The same group of guys, we got into another one, and I think I might just be the person that's like causing all these issues at this point. But
What?
essentially, we're playing Wolf. It's 3 of us. We're playing Wolf, and I'm ever since we played Wolf in Myrtle Beach, I've been obsessed with it. I think it's very fun. It's a very fun 3-person game. So at this point, it's very tight. Like, there's only like a change between, like, maybe there's a point differential between all 3 of us. It was very, very tight. Real good match. I'm giving both these guys 5 strokes each, so I'm kind of pissed off about that because we've always played straight up our whole lives, and all of a sudden I'm playing a lot more golf. They chirp me for playing golf for a living and that, whatever, and I have to give them strokes. The handicap system is what it is. I'm giving them both 5, so I already have a chip on my shoulder. We're like really in a tight match, and it gets down to like the 7th hole on Valley, which was, I guess, like our 14th or whatever hole that is, right? And I did that math wrong. Maybe the 16th hole. Anyway, so I am on the green in 3, and I'm on the green in 4, and I hit a great drive, but I end up chipping sideways, get on the green. Andrew and I are both sitting 4, putting for 5. I've got 15 feet. Andrew's got 60 feet. Okay? We're both putting for 5. Andrew putts his way short. So he goes from 60 feet to maybe 12. Now I go and putt. Now he's sitting 5. I'm sitting 4. I putt and I blow it by. And I'm frustrated. I've been missing putts all day long. And I should be putting these guys away. I'm hitting greens like crazy. I just couldn't putt. So I blow them by. So now I'm sitting 5. And I go to knock in my bogey putt and I blow it by again. So now my ball trickles to behind Andrew's where his was. So now I have like 11 or 10 feet, right? And now they're not saying a word. So I'm thinking to myself, well, now Andrew's putting for 6, and he's going to now make me putt this to now have like 2 putts to win the hole. Like, I mean, this is insane. You're making me putt. You're going to make me 4 putt right now? It's crazy. So I step up and I nail it. And like so no one said a word. I'm like, Jesus, these guys are cutthroat right now. Like, you're really making me sweat that? Like, obviously I'm putting like a fucking all over the place. Can you just give me this? So I'm thinking that in my head. Andrew putts for his bogey to win the hole, and he blows it by. So now here's where the argument came in. Was it 2 feet? I said it was 5 feet. I'm bad when it comes to fucking measurements, but I don't say a fucking word now because I'm steaming in my head being like, these guys made me fucking putt that thing coming back. So I'm just staring at Andrew. He's staring at me. He goes down. It's probably like a 2-foot putt. He misses it. And I go, that's a win for me. And I walk to the cart. And now I feel like a piece of shit. I feel like Justin Thomas out there at the President's Cup. I'm not giving out putts or whatever. But my whole thing was like, when you're in the position, now we're arguing in the cart where they're like, you just made us do the thing that you didn't want to do. You just won on a 4 putt. That's insane. He made an 8. I made a 7. My whole part was like, when you're in the position where Andrew was, where you have like a 12-footer and you need a putt to win, like, wouldn't you almost always give the guy who's now putting for the 7 the putt after he just three? Like, they ended up making it more competitive and cutthroat by making me make that seventh putt. Don't you think? What's your guys' take on that situation?
There were honestly like too many putts for me to follow. I'm kind of having a hard time.
I'm pretty confused too. I don't really know what everybody was putting. I have no
someone's
idea what everybody
putting for
was
double,
putting
and then he's putting for 7, but I have 2 putts to win.
Essentially, my putt for 7 is behind his putt for 6, and they just they refused to give it to me because like they said that I was mad. I walked up to it, I didn't give him a chance to think, and I drained that putt. So now I'm thinking to myself, like, these guys really wanted to win with like 2 putts from 10 feet. I thought that was bullshit to like say, we're going to make him miss this, make an 8, and now I have 2 putts for the win. I just feel like when you're in that like give me type of match and like everyone's kind of giving out putts.
So your putt was outside of his, but you were mad they didn't give it to you and you hadn't given him his?
Well, I was mad when I'm putting my 7th putt is essentially what I'm saying. I'm stepping up to my 7th putt.
I think I'm
But
team
was
Andrew.
your putt important? Like, did it matter if you made yours?
If you made your putt and he missed, you guys would have tied the hole.
We would have tied the hole, yes.
Am I taking crazy pills here?
Why would they
Lindsay?
give that to you? That'd be crazy.
Well, no, I mean, I ended up making the putt. I guess the argument came when I didn't give him his at the end. So, like, that's where... But do you guys think that, like, my point in saying, like, because you didn't give me that, now, like, it's a real... Now we're trying to make putts now? Because you're
that's
trying
totally
to
a
make
thing.
me... Like, you're trying to make me 4-putt now. So, like, I'm going to make sure that ball goes in the hole now. I don't care if it was 8 inches. Like, they
Couldn't
were
agree
saying,
more. I
essentially,
think that's
I'm an
fair.
asshole.
No, that's fair.
It took me a while to get to, like, the explanation of what the fight was.
That's fair. That's totally fair. You're 100%. I 100% agree with you. And I would also say no one can ever in the game of golf be upset about a non-given putt if they go ahead and miss that putt. Never.
By definition, it wasn't a gimme.
JT
Thank
has
you.
every
That's what I
right.
was
Like
saying.
when JT pours in a 2-footer, he then has at least earned, I would say, a platform on which he could chirp about that putt not being given. If you miss a putt that you think should have been a gimme, you are inherently by the nature of the term wrong and a fucking asshole.
Right, completely.
So the next couple holes, it's like they're making me feel like I'm the biggest dick in the world. They're saying it was within a putter grip. Like, how do you not give that? And I'm saying, like, I watched it from the side of the green. The ball rolled forever, and you just missed it. Like, I understand that we've been kind of giving putts all day. You also tried to make me 5-putt at some point. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't giving me putts when I was fucking playing table tennis around the hole. So, like, I'm going to see that ball goes in the hole. I'm sorry. Like, I made mine. You missed yours. And it just kind of brought up this discussion of, like, when you're in these matches, like, where do you then cross the line? Because it goes from, like, fun to, like, we want to win. Because, like, we're playing for money. You're, like, playing wolf. It got to the end. I was a lone wolf on this one. So, like, I ended up winning 3 points. Like, everything about it was very intense. And when he missed it, I kind of walked off being like, wow, yeah, fuck you guys. I just won that hole. And they're just like, how do you not give that? I hate that fucking moment of like, who should be giving what? Like, I don't know.
I think there's got to be a concrete rule. Like, it's got to be like,
is
if
it
it's
ever going to be like that though, Dan? I mean, that's like a utopian like thought. Like, that's never going to happen.
No, it should just never be. You should never be allowed to be upset. Like, I almost think it's never really acceptable to be upset about a non-gimme. Like, it's just never really acceptable.
If it's that short, just putt it in. Just make it.
Just putt it and make it. What's the issue? If it's that easy of a putt, just step up and make it and go to the next hole. Who gives a flying fuck? And I know, like, Lurch would get upset a lot of times in the travel series where he'd be like, it'd be a very short putt. We wouldn't give it to him, and he would miss it. And he would get upset that we didn't give it. I'd be like, well, you miss them all the time. Like, I'm not going to give you a fucking... Of course we're not going to give you a putt. You're out here striping it like fucking Jack Nicklaus in the 670s, and like our only way to win is because you're a horrible putter. If you're gonna keep missing putts, we're not gonna give you putts.
I guess my question to you guys is like, everyone has to deal with this that's listening to this podcast. We all go out and we play our matches on the weekends. Do you have to set that precedent from the beginning, or are you allowed to turn on the switch towards the end? Like, is that an acceptable thing to you guys to be like, oh, it's the 16th hole, it's really tight. Now all of a sudden, I'm going to make sure you make this 1-foot slider, as opposed to like, you know, on the 4th hole, Andrew hit the ball all over the place. I'm like, just pick it up. I'm in for a 5, you're in for a 5. It is what it is. Move on to the next one. But on the 16th hole, we both, first of all, we both need to be a better putter. We like 3-putt and 4-putt. That's disgusting. Seven putts from a combined 50 feet is like the biggest joke of all time. But like I just turned on the switch, I guess, and they were like, "Whoa!" Like Frankie's like, "That's insane." It's like
No,
$20,
but I also
dude.
think that clearly gets escalated by other events in the match, right? Like that again has happened in our travel series many times where it's been like there's been a moment where you guys are mad that like Trent gets 2 strokes of this hole, so you make him putt like an 8-inch putt or something, and then I'll walk over to Trent and say like, we're not giving them a fucking putt the rest of this entire round.
That's part
and
of
then
it.
like that escalates things, which is great. Like it's fine, but there are different things, and I think it's always really hard to set a rule because like a 2.5-foot putt above the hole left to righter is way different than a 3-foot putt directly below the hole. Like somebody's gonna need to putt that. You know what I mean? So it's hard to just put like what are you gonna say? Like any putt inside of 2.5 feet that's not downhill is good. Like no, it's just it when you see it and you give somebody a putt.
Speaking of putting, I want to say one thing. The broomstick putters are bullshit, and I'm sick. I'm sick and tired of them. And I actually overheard a couple of the American caddies who will remain nameless. That was hard to say. They were like, "Yeah, I mean that thing's anchored for sure. Like, how can you tell me that thing is not anchored?" It's just like when they outlawed anchoring in 2016. This is not in the spirit of the rule to have your hand so close to your chest that no one could possibly tell whether it's anchored or not. It's just, I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it. I can't believe that guys are still allowed to use it. And I don't like the arm lock either because that's basically anchored up your side of your arm. And I don't hold it against anyone for using it because they're not cheaters, right? Like it's legal. The blame lies with the USGA and not making that rule like hard and fast enough. But watching guys with their arm that are like, it's like this. Like, is it anchored? I mean, you could never tell me. And also, let's say it wasn't anchored, and then right before I putted, I go like this. Like, you're not going to be able to pick that up. And so there were guys on the U.S. team who were annoyed by it because Adam Scott and Siwoo Kim both putt with the broomstick. And I just think there needs to be a maximum length that a putter should be, and it shouldn't be the size of your driver. I just wanted to get that out there. I'm very, very anti-broomstick.
You can go against broomsticks. That's fine. I like that. I mean, you can have your thing. I would say opposed to that, like if it was an advantage, wouldn't everyone use it?
It's not an advantage. It's a clutch for people, or a crutch, not a clutch, a crutch. It's a crutch for people who are obviously struggling.
Clutch would be different. Clutch would be like almost it's like they're going to catapult with it or something.
Yes, it's a crutch.
Be able to really fire it into gear when they want to step it up.
I think it's like against the spirit of the rule of the anchor ban, and I think it's impossible to tell whether these guys are anchoring it or not, and I just think it's kind of bullshit. Yeah. I'm not against it at the recreational level. Like, if your 75-year-old grandpa wants to use a longer putter, it doesn't bother me. But I think in professional competition, you should not be allowed to have your hand so close to your chest that you can't tell with the naked eye whether it's like if one guy was holding it out here, that's one thing, but they're not. It's right up in here.
Yeah, it's tight. It's real tight.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
There's a gaping hole in the rules there.
Yeah, gaping hole. Just a gaping.
Like my dad's singing karaoke downstairs.
Oh, what kind of karaoke? What's he singing?
I can barely hear it, but the volume has increased. They came over to watch football, and everyone was eating ribs and stuff, and the volume just went up about 10 notches just about 10 minutes ago, and I could hear some harmonizing going down there. I think he's probably singing "Ticket to Ride" by the Beatles. And it's just made me laugh. I don't know. You guys obviously can't hear this, but it's a very funny scene that's what I'm dealing with right now.
Wow. We had an event on Wednesday at the President's Cup with a bunch of charlatans. Is that what you call them? Charlatites?
Charlatanites?
No, charlatans is a bad thing. That's like a fake.
I was going to say, I don't think charlatans is what you're going
charlatans
for.
like a fancy word for a fraud.
I know
Charlodians.
Charlodians, you think? Is it Charlodians?
That sounds right.
Charlatans, North Carolina. So we had a great event there. Everybody's having a couple cocktails, and those cocktails were made by Owens Mixers. It was incredibly easy. I watched the bartenders do it all day long. They just put in vodka, and then they just poured Owens, which is our Barstool Transfusion mix, and boom, everybody had a fantastic cocktail. I was drinking them. We were all drinking them. It was a great time. You just pour your favorite liquor. You just add Owens, and you're good to go. It's that easy. They get a variety of mixers that pair with any spirit, including the Barstool Transfusion. They got margarita mix. They got the grapefruit and lime, I think it is. I think that's what it is that they put in. You can make a nice Paloma, which is really easy, which is what I'm going to probably drink a good amount this winter down more closer down to the Southwest, maybe after I arrive in LA. A little margarita, it feels like, with that environment, that climate. Owens makes it that easy. In that case, you just pour tequila in and then you just add Owens. It's great. Go to owensmixers.com. Check the store locator to find a store that has Owens near you. If you don't feel like getting off the couch, order on Amazon, or you can get it delivered in less than 30 minutes on GoPuff. That's owensmixers.com. You just add Owens. They got a cool logo, too, with the donkey, which we did a whole video shoot with Mary May. What the hell was the Elwood? Elwood. It's not a dog. What was it? It's a mule. It was a mule. They got a great mule logo. So anyways, owensmixers.com. They're the best. Go to the store locator. Get it on GoPuff or Amazon. Just add Owen. Tiger Woods has emerged. Tiger Woods. So Charlie Woods shot, I think, his career low in an event today, and Tiger was on the bag rocking his President's Cup hat. Is what I'm seeing.
Team guy. He's a team guy.
Do you
They
think
said he was zooming in all week, talking to the guys, talking to the assistant captains about pairings and stuff. He's obsessed with this.
Is Charlie's event what kept him away from the President's Cup this week?
I believe that's the rumor.
Full-time dad now.
Yeah.
We also got
family first.
Justin Thomas has jumped in the mix on our very own Dan Rappaport's tweet. Where, basically we're talking about we're not seeing Kevin Kisner on the course at all. And then Justin Thomas responded and said, I'm on his team. I don't even know if Kevin Kisner was in the President's Cup. And then Kiz responded and just wrote, nice playing today, because JT lost. So they're clearly in one right now, as they should be.
Had you seen that, Dan, or are you hearing that for the first time?
No, yeah, I try to lock in on the podcast and turn on social media. But
I watched your eyes widen as
I was scared. Well, because JT claps back sometimes. Like, if you say something bullshit, JT will call you out. So I was like, oh, God.
He's one guy that I rarely tweet about because for that very reason. I like to go after people who won't respond.
There was that picture when they were warming up in the dark. I guess that was, Saturday? When they were warming up in the dark and they took the picture of Jordan Spieth and him standing next to each other. And it was like one person's had their morning coffee and the other guy is not. That is me in the morning. Like, JT and I just have the same face and the same structure to our faces. Like, we just, our faces can't wake up in the morning. I've gotten, every single Barstool Classic this year, people ask me when I get there, I feel fine. We don't drink the night before. I wake up, I take a shower, I do the whole thing. I get there, and people are like, whoa, rough night last night, Frankie? Or like, tough wake up this morning? And I'm just like, yeah, like a lot of travel. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? Do I look hungover? Do I look that disgusting right now? I have bags under my eyes, I guess. And when I saw
a resting
JT,
bitch morning face.
When I saw JT, I'm like, that's what I look like. It's stunningly bad. Like, I was like, JT looked like he was shit-faced the night before, even though he probably just like, there's something about this feminine face and these like round features that just take a little bit of time of getting going. I don't know what it is. They're droopy in the morning.
We were walking around the President's Cup on one of the days, and Frankie didn't hear the guy, but old guy walked by. I said no idea who we were or anything like that. And I heard him say to his wife as he was walking away, he goes, oh, that must be Justin Thomas's little brother. And you get that comparison all the time, and it's still something that I just physically cannot see. It's not that I don't want to
see it.
It's not that I don't want to see it. It's that I just don't see it. But everyone else on the planet appears to see it but me.
Wow. I see it I see it when I look in the mirror. It's nuts.
All right, boys and girls. I think that's it. I know we got Monday is the finale of the 27 Barstool Classic qualifiers this year. The next Barstool Classic event will be the championship at Greyhawk in Scottsdale the weekend after Thanksgiving. So I'm going to be in Connecticut for a few days. Then I'll be home. Then we do Big Cedar. And then our big travel for the year is pretty much over. We got a couple things here and there, but we're in the fucking clear. The winter is my favorite time of year. Chill in Scottsdale, play golf. Weather's perfect.
You're coming to LA this winter. You promised me.
I'll come to LA. I've never been to LA. Amazingly, as much as we travel, it's a city I've never been to my whole life.
That's
I don't have a huge desire to go to LA. I don't like traffic. I hate being in New York. I I heard it's just gridlocked like a motherfucker. And California is a little bit like Florida to me, where it's just weird motherfuckers. Colorado,
You have no idea what you're talking about, respectfully.
California's just got some weird people. California's full of weird.
So different
There's like 50 million people in California.
I love San Diego and I love Monterey Peninsula. I don't have a feeling towards San Francisco. I haven't really actually spent any time in San Francisco. LA, I liked. I was there for a couple days. I went with Dave. I enjoyed LA. I'm a big theatrics guy. I love the idea of like maybe seeing a celebrity or two, and like you're going to these places you don't know who you're going to see. You got to keep your head on a swivel. I had drinks with Robbie Berger in LA. We went on like that street where the street goes all the way up.
I'd like to see Robbie Berger.
Yeah, it's LA's a good happening spot. I mean, it's a warmer New York City. It's pretty nice.
I'm gonna come. We're gonna play some golf. It's only like a 5-hour drive or something, 4-hour drive from where I live, which is really weird to think about still. So I'm gonna do LA this winter for sure. I'm definitely gonna do it. But I'm just telling you why it hasn't been high on my list. I don't like.
You just love saying the word gridlock. You say gridlock more than any normal person says the word gridlock.
Before
this
we
town, I've flown in and out of New York like 5 times. It feels like in the last 3 weeks, and it's just
gridlocked.
Oh God!
Before we go, I have to drive this. No. I'm driving down to Ocean City, Maryland on Friday. We're playing in the Ocean's Calling with OAR, Lumineers, Dave Matthews, Alanis Morissette. Fucking, it's crazy what we're doing.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a concert. Whoever's there, I think we're playing on Saturday around like 1 o'clock or noon. We're opening up the show in like the side stage right when you walk in. So we'll be tweeting out all that information. But after we get back from Big Cedar, I'm going to a wedding upstate New York. In fucking Alex Bush country, like up there in Rochester. Where am I going, Alex? Is it Turning Stone? Is that the place that we're going up to?
Yeah, Turning Stone.
Turning Stone's this like casino that has a bunch of golf courses up there. My one thing that
they used to have a tournament there. They used to have a PGA Tour event there.
That's what I heard. So I want to play this golf course. So if anyone that's listening to this podcast knows anyone at Turning Stone, you know where to find me because I want to play the morning before this wedding that I'm going to there. And I heard this place is legit. Like. I thought I was going to the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm like, oh, we're staying at a hotel and it's got a casino. And then someone's like, there's a PGA Tour event there all the time. I'm like, what? I need to play that golf course. So Turning Stone, I want to play. That's the thing I wanted to say.
Never heard your voice go that high before.
I need to play that golf course. I got to play that golf course.
I'm actually
like a Muppet right there.
I'm so relieved that Justin Thomas's tweet to me wasn't mean. Oh my God.
My head, by the way.
You gotta watch out, dude. He'll come for you.
I was nervous.
He's come after foreplay many times. Just calls us like incredible and shit like that.
We got Dan now, so we're good.
Yeah, no, we're solid. All right, that's our President's Cup podcast with President's Interaction Breakdown. We will be back on Thursday. That'll be our next show, and we're gonna be kind of getting into the dog days of winter. So shit might get fucking weird. We're probably gonna bring Behind the Greens podcast form back. We probably might try some new ideas, maybe some new segment ideas. A couple years ago, I pitched a handful of segments. We liked them, and then we've never done them. So we might do some segments. Maybe I'll do a whole nother round of segment pitches that we just do live on the show. But it's time to get weird. We're pretty much done. The President's Cup's done. A lot of the tourneys that are coming up, the big stars don't play. The fields are weak. We do have new guys that we get to root for. Saw Hith, Callum Tarrant, guys that will be hammering out, it feels like, in a lot of these events. But dog days, I like it. We get weird shows. So yeah, stick around. That's the President's Cup. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit hard.
Hit hard.